Let's get started with our special review session.
This is the special review session for the New York Department of City or City Planning Commission, Wednesday, August 18th, 2021. A quorum is present. The first and only item on our agenda for the special review session is a City Council modification of a scope determination for Beach 67th Street rezoning. Joy Razor is here to discuss.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. This application is returning to the Commission after it was approved on July 14th as a result of the City Council modification. Next slide, please. The modifications would reduce the rezoning boundary by eliminating one zoning lot, Block 16041, Lot 6, which is currently improved with an 8-story nursing home. Removing the nursing home site would limit the rezoning boundary to the development site lots. The nursing home would remain zoned to R4A, and the development site would be rezoned to R6. Though this is inadvisable, the modifications are within the scope of the project. No other portions of the application will change, and the applicant still proposes to construct a 9-story AIRS building and an 11-story charter school within the modified rezoning area. The applicant has submitted a technical memorandum detailing the changes made to the project area boundary, and the E designations will be removed from the nursing home site, though the conclusions of the EAS would not change. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
So this was an instance in which the council modification is not changing what will be constructed. We had thought it made better planning rationale to bring the nursing home into more conformance. The community raised concerns about it, which were shared by the council. But the change clearly is within scope. And so I would ask for approval to send the scope determination to the City Council by a show of hands. Okay, thank you. And I think that concludes the special review session. Thank you, Joy.
Yep.
And so now, good morning and welcome to the City Planning Commission's combined in-person and remote public meeting. Ryan Singer, who is our Senior Director of Land Use and Commission Operations, is now going to outline general information about the in-person and remote public hearing and how to participate.
Verbal testimony may be provided in person, online, or by calling in on your telephone. If you wish to speak in person at 120 Broadway, you may register either through the NYC Engage portal or at the front door. Masks are required and seating room capacity is limited by social distancing guidelines. If you wish to access the hearing online, please register through the upcoming meetings page of the NYC Engage portal. A link to join the hearing is on the landing page after you register. Please do not close the landing page without first clicking on the link. If you're accessing the hearing via phone and wish to speak, you must first register with the dial-in participant hotline at the numbers listed on the screen. If one of those numbers is busy, please try another. The meeting ID is 618-237-7396. The participant ID, press pound to skip it, and the password is the numeral 1. The phone number is also posted on the upcoming meetings page of the NYC Engage portal. Please note that no matter how you're accessing the meeting, you must first register if you wish to speak. Those accessing the meeting online will have the option to turn on their camera while giving testimony. When it is your turn to speak, you will be notified and promoted to a panelist. This will allow you to unmute your microphone and grant you the ability to turn on your camera. Please listen closely for your name to be called. There will be a short period where it will appear that you are no longer in the meeting. You should rejoin the meeting as a panelist. If you are accessing the hearing via phone, your name will be called from the list of registered speakers. Once your name has been called, you'll be given the temporary ability to unmute yourself. You do this by pressing *6 to unmute your phone. For those listening to the hearing through the online live stream who have not yet registered to speak but decide they wish to do so during the hearing, you must first register to speak through the upcoming meetings page of the NYC Engage portal. it's not possible to testify through the online live stream without first having registered. For those accessing the hearing via phone who have not yet registered to speak but wish to do so, you also must first register to speak through the dial-in participant hotline that I described a moment ago. It's not possible to testify via phone without first having registered. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes of testimony. There are a few exceptions to the 3-minute time limit. Elected officials are accorded the courtesy of jumping to the front of the line and are not limited to 3 minutes. And if an applicant team with 3 or more speakers wishes to make a team presentation, the team will generally be allowed a total of 10 minutes. The chair will announce when the time limit is reached. Please be mindful of potential background noise during your testimony. Make sure that if you're watching the proceedings via live stream, that the live stream is muted when you begin your testimony. Otherwise, you will hear an echo. If you change the mode by which you will be testifying, either by leaving the hearing room and testifying online or via dial-in or coming to the hearing room in person, you need to re-register and indicate the new method by which you will be testifying. If you wish to submit written testimony, it should be submitted to the Department of City Planning. Mailing and email addresses can be found on our website, planning.nyc.gov. Lastly, please note that this remote public hearing and all testimony provided is being recorded.
Madam Secretary, if you could please begin the meeting.
Good morning. This is the City Planning Commission public meeting held in person and remotely through the NYC Engage portal. Today is Wednesday, August 18, 2021. I will now call the roll. Chair Lago?
Here.
Vice Chair Knuckles?
Here.
Commissioner Burney?
Here.
Commissioner Capelli?
Here.
Commissioner Rulo?
Here.
Commissioner Dweck?
Here.
Commissioner Edie? Commissioner Knight?
Here.
Commissioner Levin? Commissioner Marin?
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz? Commissioner Rampachet?
Here.
A quorum is present. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the public meeting of Wednesday, July 28, 2021, and special meeting of Thursday, July 29, 2021.
On the minutes, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved.
Scheduling. Calendar numbers 1 through 20 and 23. We have resolutions for adoption scheduling Wednesday, September 1st, 2021, for a remote and in-person public hearing to be held through the NYC Engage portal and in the City Planning Commission hearing room, Lower Concourse, 120 Broadway. And calendar number 21 and 22, we have resolutions for adoption scheduling Thursday, September 2nd, 2021, for a remote and in-person public hearing to be held through the NYC Engage portal and in the City Planning Commission hearing room, Lower Concourse, 120 Broadway, and an overflow space at 1 Center Street mezzanine level.
On these resolutions, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolutions are adopted.
The next part of the calendar is the report section on page 131. Citywide calendar number 24 concerns elevate transit zoning for accessibility. This item has been laid over. Borough of Manhattan calendar number 25 and 26. City 9, calendar number 25, C210261ZMM. Calendar number 26 and 210262ZRM. In the matter of applications for zoning map and zoning text amendments concerning 629-639 142nd Street rezoning. For favorable reports as modified on calendar numbers 25 and 26. Chair Lago.
I want to thank the Commission for the thought that went into the modification that we made to the zoning district, and again, reiterate that the department staff had repeatedly communicated concerns to the applicant's representatives about the appropriateness of the original R9A, and so I'm pleased that we have reached a resolution with a more appropriate zoning district, and with that, I vote yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Well, I agree with the chair's remarks. This is a much more appropriate zoning classification for this site. I vote yes.
Commissioner Burney.
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli.
Agreeing with the chair and vice chair, I vote yes.
Commissioner Dweck. Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachet.
Yes.
Calendar numbers 25 and 26, as modified, have been adopted. Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 27, CD4, C210202, VSM, in the matter of an application for the grant of a special permit concerning the Windermere. For a favorable report on calendar number 27, Chair Lago,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes, and I'm glad to see this long neglected but significant edifice being brought back to life.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachet.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 27. Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 28, CD10, N210498 HKM, in the matter of a communication concerning the landmark designation of the Durant Brook Square Historic District for adoption on calendar number 28 for referral to the City Council. Chair Lago,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Is voted yes. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I can't hear. Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
calendar number 28 has been adopted. Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 29, CD10 N210499 HIM, in the matter of a communication concerning the landmark designation of the New York Public Library, Harlem Branch, on the adoption of calendar number 29 for referral to the City Council. Chair Lago,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight. I can't hear Commissioner Knight.
Commissioner Knight has voted yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachet.
Yes.
Calendar number 29 has been adopted. Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 30, CD3 N22003 HIM, in the matter of a communication concerning the landmark designation of the Kimlar War Memorial, on the adoption of calendar number 30 for referral to the City Council. Chair Lago,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachet.
Yes.
Calendar number 30 has been adopted. Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 31 and 32, CD15, calendar number 31C 200203, ZMK, calendar number 32 N200204, ZRK, in the matter of application for zoning map and zoning text amendments concerning 2840 Knapp Street rezoning. For favorable reports on calendar numbers 31 and 32, Chair Lago,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Commissioner Knight has voted yes.
Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachet.
Yes.
favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 31 and 30. Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 33, CD1, C210329 PCK, in the matter of an application for site selection and acquisition of property concerning 101 Varick Avenue. For a favorable report on calendar number 33, Chair Lago,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
A favorable has been adopted on Borough of calendar number 34, CD2, C190260 ZMQ, in the matter of an application zoning map amendment concerning 48-18 Van Dam Teamsters rezoning. For a favorable report on calendar number 34, Chair Lago,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burns,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Levin, Marin,
Yes.
I'm sorry,
It's okay.
Commissioner Ramprashad.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 34. Borough of Queens, calendar number 35, CD4, C210337 PCQ, in the matter of an application for the site selection and acquisition of property concerning Left Rack City Senior Center. For a favorable report on calendar number 35, Chair Lago,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramprashad.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 35. Borough of Queens, calendar number 36, CD14, C180395 ZMQ, in the matter of an application for a zoning map amendment concerning 106-02 Rockaway Beach Boulevard rezoning. For a favorable report on calendar number 36, Chair Lago,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramprashad.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 36. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 37, CD3 N22005 HIR, in the matter of a communication concerning the landmark designation of the Akawahung Manahanung archaeological site. On the adoption of calendar number 37 for referral to the City Council. Chair Lago,
This is the last of our votes on these landmark designations. I just want to say how much I appreciate the work of the Landmarks Preservation Commission in reaching beyond the traditional landmarks. I certainly have found these new designations to be tremendously moving. And I'll note that many of us who frequent Chinatown will have walked by the Kim Lau War Memorial many a time without recognizing its storied history. And the same goes for this one, for this designation. And with that, I vote yes.
Vice Chair Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramprashad.
Yes.
Calendar number 7 has been adopted. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 38 and 39, CD3, calendar number 38 N210092 RCR, calendar number 39 N210003 RCR, in the matter of applications for the grant of certifications concerning 100 Oceanic Avenue for adoption on calendar numbers 38 and 39. Chair Lago,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachet.
Yes.
Calendar numbers 38 and 39 have been adopted. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 40, CD3 N210450 RTR, in the matter of an application for the grant of exception concerning 55 Kingdom Avenue for adoption on calendar number 40. Chair Lago,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachet.
Yes.
Calendar number 40 has been adopted. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 41, CD3 N210469 RCR, in the matter of an application for the grant of a certification concerning Ellsworth Avenue for adoption on calendar number 41. Chair Lago, Chair Lago,
Yes.
Vice Chair Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight, Commissioner Marin.
Commissioner Knight has voted yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachet.
Yes.
Calendar number 40 has been adopted. Borough of Staten Island, calendar numbers 42 through 45. CD1, calendar number 42 N190217 ZAR, calendar number 43 N190218 ZAR, calendar number 44 N190220 ZAR, calendar number 45 N190221 ZAR, in the matter of application for the grant of authorizations concerning Harbor Lights Court for adoption on calendar numbers 42 through 45. Chair Lago,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
No.
Commissioner Cerullo,
No.
Commissioner Dweck,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Marin,
No.
Commissioner Rampachet.
No.
Calendar numbers 42 through 45 have been adopted.
No, it has not been
They have not been
adopted.
adopted.
No?
Right, we do not have 7 votes in favor of that, so that has not been adopted.
Okay, calendar numbers 42 through 45 have not been adopted. The next part of the calendar is the public hearing section on page 147. Borough of the Bronx, calendar 46, CD7 C210338 PSA. A public hearing in the matter of an application for site selection of property concerning the Fordham building.
We are going to have a team presentation, and Ryan, I am having connectivity problems. If you could
Certainly.
read out the quite extensive team.
Certainly. We have Carmine Rivette, Away Maria Riolano, my apologies, Chris Grove, Matthew Burke, Robert Alexander, Renee Martinez, Barbara Dannenberg, Rebecca Morales.
And this will be a 10-minute team presentation.
This is the 3 minutes with question and answer. This is a...
Oh, I'm sorry. So there will be one presenter and then the rest of the people are available for questioning.
Questioning, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the commission. I'm Barbara Dannenberg, and I'm here today to discuss the use of the Fordham building for a computer-based testing center for DCAS. Next slide. The site is located at 2556 Bainbridge Avenue. It is a 2-story building, which is now vacant. It's the former site of the Fordham Public Library. And we are talking about the second floor use today. It's about 10,200 square feet for a computer-based testing center. The first floor will be designated for a community use at a later time. Next slide. As you can see, the site is located very close to several forms of public transportation, such as the subway and Metro North and the bus lines. So it's very convenient for members of the public to access. Next slide. This is an aerial view of the building. And as you can see, there are 2 entrances. The entrance on Marion Avenue, which actually, I don't know if you can see that very well, but actually, yeah. The entrance on Marion Avenue will be the entrance for the testing center. The entrance on the Bainbridge side will be the entrance for the community use on the first floor. Next slide. A little bit about us. We are the Department of Citywide Administrative Services. We provide shared services to support New York City government operations, and we're responsible for the recruitment, hiring, and training of city employees and other personnel services, and that's the part of the, amongst many other missions, and that is the part of the mission that where the CTAC or testing center will fall. Next slide. Okay, human capital. I am proudly serving as the Deputy Commissioner for Human Capital, and we are responsible for, amongst many other things, maintaining the city's civil service system. And again, this is where our testing centers fall in because we offer tests for jobs at this location. Next slide. We give about 120 exams for jobs per year, and moving to this location would double our capacity to provide service to the people of the Bronx. We provide application center options. People can come in for customer service requests. We have interpreter phones. We provide voter registration, all kinds of community-based interests. Next slide. In conclusion, sorry, this is the fastest I've ever talked in my life. We propose for our testing center to move to the Fordham building, which is centrally located within the community. Thank you.
Perfect timing. Questions either for Ms. Rivetti or other members of the applicant team? Okay, thank you very much to the team and for your quick speaking. Brian, have any other people signed up to speak on this matter?
No, there are no further speakers on this item.
And I don't see members of the public in the room. So with that, the public hearing is closed.
Thank you.
Borough of the Bronx, calendar numbers 47 and 48, CD9, calendar number 47, M030150A HOX. Calendar number 48, M040047A ZFX. A public hearing in the matter of applications for a modification and amendment to previously approved project plans concerning Stevenson Commons. Notice, a public hearing is being held by the City Planning Commission in conjunction with the above non-ULURP actions to receive comments related to a draft environmental impact statement. This hearing is being held pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act and the City Environmental Quality Review.
We are going to have a 10-minute team presentation by a team comprised of Abir Sabet, Jacqueline Scarinci, Joanna Candle, Rick Gropper, Anderson Dosis, Joseph Dugopolsky, Claire Weiss, and Kathleen Dolphus.
Yes. Commissioner Marin is recused on this item.
Thank you, Commissioner. If we could wait a moment, Commissioner Dweck is recused, and so we need to get a quorum. Okay, we have a quorum, and so if I could ask the applicant team to please begin.
I don't see Jackie from Ackerman available. Is she available at this moment?
I would ask that the remainder of the large applicant team please commence the presentation.
Sure. Okay. Then I will ask if we can forward to the next slide. Good morning. My name is Joanna Candell. I am project manager for Stevenson Commons. Thank you to commissioners. We're pleased to be here today. When complete, Jackie, you're here.
Yes, I apologize. It was not put into the panelists, but thank you for adding me in. Thanks.
Perfect.
Well, I'll go quickly. So we already covered introductions, right? Camber is requesting discretionary actions to facilitate a new residential and community facility development. The Stevenson Commons site, outlined in red, consists of the entire 679,000 square foot superblock bounded by Lafayette to the north, White Plains Road to the east, Seward Avenue to the south, and Theoret Avenue to the west. The eastern portion of the Stevenson Commons site is occupied by a 9-building Mitchell-Lama housing development with 948 income-restricted housing units, local retail, and a health center. The western portion of the block is occupied by underutilized land, surface accessory parking, and private tennis and handball courts that have been closed due to unsafe conditions. The proposed new development will be located on this western portion of the property. The proposed development is compliant with the underlying R6 zoning district. The location and bulk of the existing Stevenson Common buildings will not change, and no new modifications of the zoning provisions are required for either the proposed new development or the existing Stevenson Commons development. Next slide, please. The actions requested by Camber Property Group are: the first is a modification to the 1973 Stevenson Commons large-scale residential development plan to update the previously approved plans and zoning calculations to reflect the proposed new mixed-use development. And the second is a modification to the 1973 Stevenson Commons city-aided limited profit housing project pursuant to New York State private housing finance law to update the proposed development. The DEIS conducted in connection with the project identified significant adverse impacts in construction noise, construction traffic, and transportation traffic, and further analysis and mitigation measures will be studied between the DEIS and FEIS for this project. Next slide. I will now turn it over to Joanna Candell of Camber to discuss the project proposal in greater detail.
Thank you, Jackie, and thank you to the commissioners. When complete, the project will provide 700 units of affordable housing to the Soundview community, including senior, rental, and home ownership opportunities. In addition, the proposed project will include 33,000 square feet of community facility, 466 parking spaces available for residents of the development, along with passive and active recreation opportunities in the newly landscaped area. Next slide. Thanks. Originally built in 1975, Stevenson Commons is a 9-building Mitchell-Lama complex, inclusive of 948 units of Mitchell-Lama housing overseen by HPD. In 2017, with financing and continued oversight from HDC and HPD, Camber purchased the property, extending the regulatory agreement an additional 40 years, obtaining project-based vouchers, and financing a $36 million capital improvement campaign. These improvements included upgrades to apartments and building systems, along with upgrades to common areas and security. Additional quality of life improvements included new services for building seniors through our partnership with RAIN and the reestablishment of the Stevenson Commons Tenants Association. Next slide. As designed, the project will enhance the pedestrian experience by activating otherwise unusable area that is currently closed off to pedestrians. When complete, the proposed project will include a convenient pathway for neighborhood residents to use, along with new tennis facilities, a new playground designed in collaboration with Community Board 9, and passive recreation areas. The community facility space will be distributed across multiple buildings and will include universal pre-K, space for after-school programming and community events, along with an administrative area for the New York Junior Tennis and Learning Center to build up their community tennis program that already exists at Stevenson Commons. Parking will be provided for residents of the existing property, along with residents of the new development, and project construction will be phased to ensure tenant quality of life and parking availability is not affected. Next slide. Our first phase is our home ownership phase, and I'll move quickly through these, and I'm happy to answer questions of them later. This will include 58 units of affordable cooperative housing built in partnership with Habitat for Humanity and available to individuals earning between 80 to 100% of AMI. Next slide. Our second phase is the senior community, which will include 117 units of senior housing built under HPD's SARA program and available to individuals and households making up to 50% of AMI. We are partnering with RAIN again to provide social services on site here. And lastly, next slide, please, is our multifamily rental properties. These 3 buildings will combined have over 600 units and will be built in conjunction with HPD's low and moderate income term sheets. I'm going to pass the presentation over to my colleague Jacob from WXY, who can review the site design and planning.
Hi, Jacob from WXY here. Next slide, please. So the master plan breaks open a courtyard typology with new pedestrian connections on this half of the super block, with a major pedestrian path aligned with Leland Avenue. There's east-west connections as well that align with the secondary entrance to Stevenson Commons and to the south of the existing courtyard complex. The existing service drive, shown in the bottom right in gray, is realigned with Underhill Avenue at the north and is lined with parking and serves as a spine to connect at-grade lots and 2 structured lots, maintaining existing tenant parking and parking required for the new developments. Next slide. The proposed massing negotiates between the Tower and the Park developments to the north and the east and the townhome scale to the south. Proposed buildings B1, B2, and B3 at the north. They start with a 6-story block that relates to the existing complex and provides a street wall along Lafayette Avenue and set back along Theriot Street to the west. The upper building portions vary in height from a total building height of 14 floors at the northeast down to 9 floors and are broken down through single-loaded segments between a higher and lower bar in each of these 3 buildings. And then select corners are chamfered in the zoning envelope to further break down the massing in this composition. The 3 buildings along Seward Avenue step down from a 6 and 4-story senior building at the corner, B4, and 4 and 3-story walk-up units, B5 and B6. And the careful stepping and variation of heights and building types will provide a frame for the open space. Next slide. So the open space is activated through outdoor program spaces and gathering and seating supported by the buildings around. You can see the primary elements, Leland Ave or the Leland Play Street. And starting from Lafayette Avenue at the north, there's a proposed playground, urban fitness, adjacent to a new childcare facility in B1. The 4 existing tennis courts on site are rotated and resituated at this side for optimal sun exposure. And as mentioned, will be operated by the New York Junior Tennis League, which will also have ground floor in the space in the ground floor of B1. Community gardens allotments around the tennis courts and multi-generational and community rooms in B1 and B2 and B3 along the Leland Play Street to support senior and youth after school programming along this path. Next slide. Here's a view of the proposed Leland Play Street with tennis courts to the right, a wide pedestrian path, and direct visibility from the street. And that's building B4, the senior building at the corner, which has a pass-through lobby to engage Seward Avenue and also connect to open spaces for seniors to the north. Next slide. So view overall provides a set of 6 new buildings that work between the 21-story towers adjacent, and the proposed massing steps from 14 stories at the northeast to 3 stories at the south. Materiality and colors will complement the existing brick of Stevenson Commons and the wide variety of colors and textures in the context. The community benefits of open space.
I'm afraid that the time is up.
Sorry.
So at this point, thank you. Thanks for the presentation. and I will toss it open to commissioners for questioning. Commissioner Burney.
Well, actually, the one thing we haven't heard are what are the modifications to the previously approved plan?
So I think it's on slide 3, we have just the actions that we're asking for are just to update the zoning calculations and the overall project plan to reflect the new development that's proposed here, because this is a large scale. Even though the development is as of right, we need to ask for a minor modification to reflect this new project that's being proposed on the western portion of the site.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Well, then I will thank the applicant team, and Ryan, ask if there are any other folks who wish to testify.
We have no other speakers signed up on this item.
Okay, I will note that the record on this matter is going to remain open through Monday, August 30th, 2021, to receive written comments on the draft environmental impact statement. And with that, the public hearing is closed.
Borough of the Bronx, calendar number 49, CD1, C210339, ZMX. A public hearing in the matter of an application for a zoning map amendment concerning 624 Morris Avenue rezoning.
Our first speaker will be Adam Rothkrug.
Thank you very much, Chair Lago, Commissioners. Adam Rothkrug from the firm of Rothkrug Inspector. I'm here today on behalf of 624 Morris B LLC, owner of the property at 624 Morris Avenue. You can, next slide, please. Connection with our application to restore a C14 commercial overlay to their property at 624 Morris Avenue, just north of East 151st Street, to permit continued commercial use on the first floor, including a rear portion that was originally constructed as a shopkeeper's apartment. The rezoning includes a total of 7 lots, all of which have existing commercial uses on the first floor of their buildings, all of which are legally grandfathered from prior to 1961, as well as from when this block had a commercial overlay, with the exception of the newer building at the corner of Morris Avenue and East 151st Street on the right of this photo, which obtained a zoning variance from the Board of Standards and Appeals, also permitting commercial use on the first floor. Next slide. That shows the commercial frontage. Next slide. The underlying R71 zoning applicable to the property will not be changed, so that the commercial overlay will not allow any new or larger buildings. It will simply give greater flexibility to the current grandfathered first floor commercial uses. When the current zoning resolution went into effect in 1961, this area was zoned R6 with a C14 overlay, as shown on the upper left slide there. This was changed to R71, C14 in 1970, and to R71 without a commercial overlay in 1973, even though all the buildings in the project area had ground floor commercial uses. The 1970 and 1973 actions appear to be related to city and federal government Melrose urban renewal program that was being developed at that time, though we were not able to find any explanation in the historical records as to why the C14 overlay was eliminated from this particular area. It does not appear that these buildings were scheduled to be acquired by the government for redevelopment. These properties are no longer within the urban renewal area. A review of the zoning map indicates that there is still C14 commercial overlays on the west side of Morris Avenue and also along the block immediately to the south on both sides of Morris Avenue. As noted, the Board of Standards and Appeals granted an approval for the building on the corner, which facilitated a 2-story, 8,000 square foot building with retail use on the first floor. Next slide. The development site consists of Lot 4, 624 Morris Avenue, which has an interior lot with 1,207 square feet in lot area, has a building 17.25 in frontage by 70 feet in depth.
I'm afraid, Mr. Rothkrug, that the time has expired.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see the timer up on my clock, but thank you.
No
Again,
worries.
we're actually just restoring a commercial overlay that was there. Thank you very much.
Questions from the commission? Thank you. And Ryan, I don't see any other folks signed up to testify.
No, there are no further speakers signed up on this item.
Okay, then this public hearing is closed.
Borough of Queens, calendar number 5051, CD8, calendar number 50, C210192, ZMQ, calendar number 51, N210193, ZRQ. A public hearing in the matter of application for zoning map and zoning text amendments concerning 185-17 Hillside Avenue rezoning.
Our first speaker will be Richard Lobel.
Richard Lobel of Sheldon Lobel PC for the applicant. We join you today to discuss the 185-17 Hillside Avenue rezoning. Next slide, please. So really what we're seeking here is several actions. The first map amendment to rezone part of 5 lots from R3X to R7AC24. There would also be a zoning text amendment to allow for certain provisions of Article 11, Chapter 5 to extend to properties within this special downtown Jamaica district. So the rezoning includes both the map amendment as well as a text amendment to extend the downtown Jamaica district. And finally, of course, revisions to Appendix F to allow for mandatory inclusionary housing to apply. Next slide. So here we have a discussion of the proposed building. Currently, this 160,000 square foot lot is severely limited due to the 100-foot depth of the existing R6C24 as well as the downtown Jamaica district, with currently a 1-story animal hospital to 1947. The proposal would allow for the production of a 9-story building use with roughly 4,000 square feet of ground floor commercial and roughly 63,000 square feet of residential use above. The property would contain 27 off-street parking spaces, despite that 18 are required, as well as bike parking spaces. The number of dwelling units generated would be 48 dwelling units, 12 of those being affordable under option 1. Next slide. On the zoning map here, and actually if you can go to the slide after that, it's useful that the special district is only mapped, which is largely limited development, not only on this block, but also on other blocks burdened with this condition. So 1,000 feet to the west along Hillside Avenue, the special district pursuant to the Jamaica plan zone these districts to the full lot depth of 180 feet or 160 feet, and to the east matched lot depths of 100 feet. Here, however, despite having a lot that exceeds that amount going to 160 feet, the Jamaica district was only mapped to 100 feet. What this has resulted in largely for many of these properties is underdevelopment or no development. Next slide. So I would close merely with demonstrating why this is such a good idea. The lot here lies along Hillside Avenue, a 100-foot wide street. The lot is additionally near public transportation, with Jamaica being a transit hub, particularly with regards to several subway lines and over 8 bus lines that traverse Hillside Avenue. And with that, although we have maps and photos demonstrating the proposed plans and units, we'll produce development in line with the surrounding residential buildings of 6 to 7 stories, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Lobel? Commissioner Ramprasad.
Just 2 quick questions. I noticed that the borough president during the meeting had discussed about having a meeting space. Has that been discussed further with the applicant?
It has, and in fact, the seller plan was not previously demonstrated on the publicly available materials, but my understanding is that given that the intention was to put such meeting space in the cellar of the building.
Okay, and the other question was, I know Community Board 8 didn't have a hearing, but did you receive any, I guess, written confirmation from them about the project or any response from them in any way?
Sure, I spoke to the chair and other community members, and they were remorseful that they did not have a hearing on this. I believe that there's still ongoing discussions, and we may be talking to them within the next several weeks. When I did speak to the chair, we've had very frank conversations about the immediately surrounding development on both sides of this property, the fact that this will allow a productive building to infill that space, as well as the fact that the current R6A permits for buildings of up to 7 to 8 stories. So although we do not have any written materials, and I would not make any representations on behalf of the chair, I think the general feeling was that this was within the context of what's already there.
Other questions? And I will note that should the community board meet, we will pass along any recommendation that we get from them. And our anticipation is that their next meeting will occur before our clock has run out. Thank you, Mr. Lobel. Our next speaker is David Weiss.
Yes, hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Available if there are any questions.
Questions? Okay, that is quick testimony. Thank you, Mr. Weiss. And our next
Thank you very
speaker
much.
is Frank Demerel. Apologies if I've mispronounced the name.
Yes, Frank Demerel, architect. I'm here to answer any questions on the plans that you may have.
Any questions? Okay, again, very efficient testimony. And Ryan, those are the only names that I see signed up?
Yes, those are the only speakers who've signed up. There are no other speakers on the
Okay, so the public hearing on this matter is closed.
Thank you.
Borough of Queens, calendar numbers 52 and 53, C1, calendar number 52, C210025 MQ, calendar number 53, N210026 VRQ. The public hearing in the matter of application for zoning map and zoning text amendment concerning Broadway and 11th Street rezoning.
Madam Chair, I'm recused from this matter.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramprasad. We will have a 10-minute team presentation by a team comprised of Nellie Hennessy, Jacqueline Scarinci, and Damian Smith.
Good morning. My name is Jacqueline Skirnchi of Ackerman LLP, land use counsel for the project, and I'm joined by Nellie Hennessy of Caliendo Architects and applicant Damian Smith. Next slide, please. We are here to present an application for a zoning map amendment to rezone underutilized property on the south side of Broadway between 11th Street and 12th Street from the existing R5 zoning district to a special mixed use district or MX district that pairs an M14 manufacturing zoning district with an R7A residential zoning district. This application also seeks zoning text amendments to establish an MIH area with MIH option 1 and to establish the MX23 district in the zoning resolution. This portion of Ravenswood was zoned with an R5 residential zoning district since the enactment of the zoning resolution in 1961 and remains in place today despite the prevalence of industrial uses that you can see shown on the land use map in purple. The R5 district is characterized by industrial, warehouse, garage buildings, and pockets of low density, older housing stock. In contrast, the area north of Broadway was rezoned in the 2010 Astoria rezoning, and there are several new 8-story residential buildings that you can see on the north side of Broadway in the existing R7A district, which are also pointed out in the blue circles on the land use map. Despite the commercial overlays along Broadway and Vernon Boulevard north of Broadway, there has been very little local retail in this area. The closest retail is located at 21st and Broadway, approximately 0.3 miles away from the project area. Next slide, please. The project is located on 2 wide streets and is within the transit zone. This aerial view looking north shows the surrounding built context. North of the site along Broadway in the existing R7A C23 district mapped immediately to the north of the project, there are several 8-story residential buildings. The lower density warehouse context to the south is shown at the bottom portion of this slide. The block west of the site across 11th Street was rezoned an R7X C13 district and an R6B zoning district recently in 2019. Next slide, please. This slide shows the existing R5 zoning on the left with the site shaded in red. The right shows the proposed M14 R7A MX23 district. The special mixed-use zoning designation was established in 1997 to encourage investment in and enhance the vitality of existing neighborhoods, such as Ravenswood, with mixed residential and industrial uses in close proximity. It was intended to create opportunities like this project for mixed-use communities by allowing a balance of and variety of uses, including light industrial uses consistent with the historic character of the area. The MX district allows for new medium density mixed use development with the surrounding built context. Next slide, please. The proposed actions was facilitate a mixed-use development with approximately 199 dwelling units, 50 of which would be permanently income restricted, and new job-generating uses, including approximately 26,686 square feet of commercial and light industrial uses, which are proposed as a grocery store, local retail with an outdoor cafe, an artist studio, wine distributor, and floral production studio. The proposed MX zoning district ensures that this range of uses is permitted in the project area. The breakdown of MIH units by income band and unit size is shown on this slide. 17 units at 40% AMI, 17 at 60, and 16 at 80%, for a total of 50 permanently income restricted units for MIH option 1. HANIC will be the project's MIH administering agent. And now I'll turn it over to Nellie Hennessy of Caliendo to discuss the design. Next slide, please.
Good morning, commissioners. The proposed building wraps the entire block, maintaining a continuous street wall on each frontage with active first floor uses to enhance the streetscape. The first floor uses include approximately 3,700 feet of use group 6 local retail, approximately 9,800 square feet use group 6 grocery store, and approximately 4,600 square feet use group 9 artist studio, approximately 400 square feet use group 16 wine distributor, and 5,700 square feet use group 6 floral production studio. To accommodate the non-residential programming, off-street accessory loading berths are provided on 33rd Avenue and 12th Street. A freight elevator is located adjacent to the 12th Street loading dock to provide direct access to the cellar. The northwestern corner of the building is chamfered to accommodate an outdoor seating area accessory to the first floor commercial space. Next slide, please. The next 2 slides show the proposed building from all sides. The section shows the 18-foot qualifying ground floor designed to accommodate the commercial and semi-industrial uses in the proposed development. Next slide, please. Here you can see how the building steps down from 7 stories on Broadway. Along 33rd Avenue, the southwestern corner of the building is at 11th Street is 6 stories, and the southeastern corner of the building at 12th Street is 5 stories. Now Damian Smith will discuss programming. Next slide, please.
Good morning. The proposed development serves as a need in the community as there's currently very little local retail in the area. The ground floor of the proposed development has a grocery store, wine distributor, floral production studio, and local retail. The proposed MX zoning district ensures that this range of uses is permitted in the project area. Next slide, please. The wine distributor and floral production studios are both intended for existing local Queens businesses that are seeking new space in the area. The wine distributor, Tobacco Wine Merchants Inc., is planning to move its operations from Nassau County. The florist Cambridge Floral Design intends to relocate from Long Island City. That's the end of the presentation. We're available for questions.
Thank you. Questions from the commission? Commissioner Capelli.
Hello. Yes. Can you explain exactly what a wine distributor is and what a floral production studio is?
So the wine distributors is they sell bulk wine to restaurants in the New York City area, Westchester and Nassau County. So they bring in pallets of wine, and then they break them up and they distribute them as needed to the restaurants. The Floral Design is a company that works in a lot of the hospitals and office buildings in Manhattan to do all the floral and decorations and all the landscaping at the front of the buildings and in the lobbies for all the commercial buildings.
Is there any retail component with either of these?
There will be a retail component with the Floral Design. There is a florist as well, and then they also produce the the baskets and other floral productions.
Thank you.
Other questions? If I could ask a member of the applicant team if you have any insights on the discussion at the community board, since we had a very close vote.
Sure. I think, Community Board 1 in Queens has, there are a number of members who had strong opinions about the affordability option. And we're proposing MIH option 1, but there were a number of members that voted feeling that the project should have had more than MIH option 1.
Thank you. Other questions? Then I will thank I'm sorry, Commissioner Marin.
Did they identify what other AMI options they were looking at?
So, I think they recognize that 60% AMI is consistent with the Astoria AMI, and we will have AMIs at 40, 60, and 80. But the overall request was for additional floor area set aside for affordable units. And just given, that this is a privately financed project, it's not feasible to add more than the MIH option here.
Hearing you correctly, what I hear from me is that they were asking for more than 50 units. It's not about the 40, 60, 80, but the amount of units that are affordable. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
And thank you to the applicant team. And our next speaker will be Corinne Haynes.
Corinne is not in the Zoom room.
Okay, then we will move on to Marissa Williams, who will be followed by Laverne Wilson.
Good morning. My name is Marissa Williams, and I'm a representative at 32BJ. I am here on behalf of 32BJ SEIU and the more than 8,000 32BJ members to express our strong support on this project. The developers, D&K Construction and Prosper Property Group, have applied to build a 7-story mixed-use building that will include residential and commercial space. We are pleased to announce that the developers have made a credible commitment to provide prevailing wage jobs to the future building service workers at this site. We estimate that this rezoning will allow for the creation of 5 new property service jobs and 50 new affordable units. These jobs are typically filled by local members of the community, and because of this commitment, will pay family-sustaining wages, which help bring working families into the middle class. The percentage of affordable apartments are needed for working people in Queens. This affordable housing and commitment to good prevailing wage jobs will give opportunity for upward mobility, security, and dignity to working class families. 32BJ supports responsible developers who invest in the communities where they build. We know that this development will continue to uphold the industry standard and provide opportunities for working families to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Williams? Thank you. Our next speaker will be Laverne Wilson, to be followed by Crowan Mason. Please go ahead.
Hi. Yes, I am speaking today in support of the Broadway and 11th Street rezoning because it brings new housing and investments to an unserved community. Amongst the many wonderful assets this project will bring to our community, what excites me the most is the 4,600 square feet of artist studio space and the African art programming component. It is not often you hear of a project that will bring such rich African art culture to our neighborhood and provide opportunities for young, aspiring artists of color. The 11th and Broadway project will create opportunities for African American artists and culturals to join the growing mosaic of art, culture in our area. 11th and Broadway will be offer accessible ways for neighbors of all ages to learn about experiences and create art. It is imperative that our youth are exposed to high and culture art. And I commend 11th and Broadway for making this accessible in our community. Please accept this testimony as my support for the rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Questions? Thank you. Our next speaker will be Crow and Mason, to be followed by Carol Wilkins.
You can unmute your microphone.
Sorry about that.
There we go.
My name is Pastor Cohen Mason of the Community Church of Astoria. Our church is about 2 blocks away from this project at 1442 Broadway, right next to Long Island City High School. This has been the home of Community Church of Astoria for the past 90 years, and all of our congregants are local residents. I'm here to express my support for the Broadway and 11th Street rezoning. This rezoning will help transform the property from its current dilapidated state into a new place for people to live, work, and enjoy. This building will be anchored by a few very important staples: a grocery store, local florist, African-American art studio, and affordable housing. Right now, the neighborhood is lacking places to shop, affordable apartments, and jobs. I applaud the rezoning effort as a step towards a better Ravenswood. With this rezoning, our congregants will have a suite of enhanced services. This project will bring new affordable housing at low income levels, which is a priority needed in the community. We will also see new employment both during construction and with permanent positions when it's built. During this time of economic crisis, it's imperative we are creating high-paying, sustainable jobs for our community residents. I look forward into welcoming our new neighbors on Broadway and recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Pastor Mason? Thank you for testifying. Our next speaker will be Carol Wilkins, to be followed by Mark West.
Good morning. My name is Carol Wilkins. I am a resident of Ravenswood Houses. I am also the president of Ravenswood Resident Association. I am in support of the Broadway and 11th Street rezoning. The rezoning proposal will create much needed affordable housing opportunities and job opportunities. The 11th Street Broadway project will produce temporary and permanent jobs for our community. It will also feature, for the first time in Western Queens, an African-American museum art that will provide young people of color the opportunity to experience create high-end culture art. This is an invaluable opportunity for our community to experience such underrepresented art culture. I am in support of the project. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Wilkins? Again, thank you. Our next speaker is Mark West, to be followed by Reverend Pickett.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Mark West, and I'm speaking today in support of the Broadway and 11th Street rezoning. My passion for this project has increased considerably since I've had the chance to see how my brothers and sisters are living in public housing. Before we can do anything, we have to have a baseline, safe, affordable, and livable housing for those in need. I founded the Mark A. West Jr. Museum, also known locally as House of Mark West, as a nonprofit cultural art institution, gallery, and creative hub to provide greater opportunities for artists and creatives from marginalized communities. I see the more than 4,600 square feet of artist studio space in the building as an opportunity for underrepresented voices to work in the existing cluster of established arts uses, including the Noguchi Museum and Socrates Sculpture Park. I believe that this space provides an opportunity to promote African-American art and culture and to promote an underrepresented culture through visibility and elevate young artists from the surrounding community into global recognition. I support this rezoning project and ask that you be as passionate as we are in building a community for all.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. West? Thank you for testifying. Our next speaker is Reverend Pickett.
Hello, all. I'll be reading on behalf of Reverend Pickett today. He had a last-minute conflict and he provided a testimony for me to read. So on his behalf, my name is Pastor Gilbert Pickett Sr. I am the moderator of the Eastern Baptist Association, an association of 120 churches, primarily in Queens. I am also the senior pastor of Mount Baptist Church in Corona and a lifelong resident of Queens. I speak today in support of the Broadway and 11th Street residents because it brings new housing and investment to an underserved community where many of my congregates I represent live. I recognize that the housing crisis and disinvestment is not limited to Ravenswood, but this area has a critical need for affordable new developments. This rezoning will improve the quality of life for the whole community by replacing a rundown site that actually serves as a blight in our community with new affordable housing and new places to shop and work. The permanently affordable apartments will benefit the community where high quality affordable housing resources are scarce. It will further benefit the community by activating local retail corridor and by providing a grocery store, floral shop, and my favorite, the Mark West Museum, the first African-American museum in Northwestern Queens. This development will bring much needed construction and permanent jobs to our neighborhood. I fully support this rezoning and ask that you do the same. Thank you.
Thank you for the testimony. Now go back and see if Corinne Haynes has rejoined, and if you could also check, Ryan, if there are other people who have signed up.
Corinne Haynes is not in the Zoom room, and there are no other speakers signed up for this item.
Okay, seeing that there are people in the room, if there's anyone else present who has not signed up but would like to be heard, please come forward now. Seeing none, this public hearing is closed.
Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 54, CD4, N210265PXM. A public hearing in the matter of a notice of intent to acquire office space concerning NYPD 521 West 57th Street.
This is going to be a 10-minute team presentation by a large team comprised of Lisa Schreibman.
No, I believe you're looking at the next one.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I am jumping the gun. It is going to be a team presentation by a tiny team of tiny but mighty, Anthony Andreano, Jason Ortiz, and Dennis Samuelin. It will be a 3-minute presentation by Mr. Andreano, with the other members available for questioning.
Hi, good morning. This is Lieutenant Anthony Andreano with NYPD Facilities Management Division. I'm the liaison on behalf of the end user, which is the Strategic Response Group number 1, located in Manhattan, as well as the Department of Citywide Administrative Services. Lieutenant Dennis Samuelin is on the line, and he'll be speaking on behalf of the Strategic Response Group.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Dennis Samuelin. I'm an Administrative Lieutenant with the Strategic Response Group 1 of the New York City Police Department, and I'll have I'll have a brief presentation about our anticipated move to a new building located at 521 West 57th Street. Next slide, please. Our unit was created in May 2015 by consolidating patrol borough task forces into a strategic response group with 1 unit in each geographical borough of New York City. Next slide. The unit was created with several missions in mind. First and foremost, members of the SRG are deployed to precincts with high rates of violent crimes to assist precinct commanders in their crime-fighting efforts. Additionally, members of the SRG respond to various citywide mobilizations of serious crimes, assisting precincts in search for vulnerable missing people, responding to incidents of civil disorder, as well as assisting emergency service unit at the hazmat, CBRN, and the active shooter incidents. Move to slide 5, please. SRG 1 is home to 122 uniformed officers and supervisors who operate on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we're looking to move to a new building on West 57th Street due to our landlord not extending the lease to our current location on 42nd Street. Next slide, please. West 57th Street building will be an ideal location for our new home for several reasons. First and foremost, the location is essentially situated in the middle of Manhattan, which will give us easy access to West Side Highway, Henry Hudson Parkway, as well as 57th Street to quickly respond to any incident, not only within Manhattan, but anywhere in the city. Next slide, please. Second, the space provided to us at the West 57th Street location will be sufficient to house all the members of the service, as well as various specialized equipment assigned to SRG1, such as personal protective equipment, bicycles, body-worn cameras, just to name a few. The slides 8 through 15 actually going to describe the different vehicles and equipment that are assigned to SRG1 and stored at SRG1 facility. Additionally, the new location will provide our indoor parking space for our vehicles. Availability of indoor parking space will eliminate the need for us to take street parking away from the community. Parking of officers' private vehicles will not be an issue either. Commanding officer has conducted an informal survey of the command, which revealed that 60 to 65% of officers take public transportation to and from work, and that number is only expected to increase once the congestion pricing is implemented. As said before, we operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we're pretty much looking to be good neighbors, which will go to the community.
Thank you for your testimony. Questions for any members of the applicant team? Well, again, thank you. Thank you both for your service and for the presentation.
Thank you.
Brian, do we have any other members of the public who have signed up to speak?
There are no further speakers on this item.
Seeing a number of people in the room, if there is anyone present who would like to be heard on this matter, please come forward. And seeing none, the public hearing on this matter is closed.
Borough of Manhattan, calendar numbers 55 and 56, CD5, calendar number 55, C210369ZSM, calendar number 56, C210370ZSM, a public hearing in applications for the grant of special permits concerning 343 Madison Avenue, MTA HQ. Notice, a public hearing is being held by the City Planning Commission in conjunction with their appearance to receive comments related to a draft environmental impact statement. This is being held pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act and the City Environmental Quality Review.
I note that the Honorable Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer is signed up to speak, and I would ask if she would want to speak before the applicant team presentation or afterwards.
Afterwards.
Okay, thank you, Madam Borough President. Then I will call the large applicant team comprised of Lisa Schreibman, Nancy Doon, Robert Paley, Ben Myers, Luke Wilson, Helene Sunk, Wesley O'Brien, Andrew Cleary, Richard Monopoly, and Zachary Bernstein.
Good morning, Chair Lago and Commissioners. There will be only 4 of us delivering this main presentation. I'm Zach Bernstein with Fried Frank Land Use Council to Boston Properties. This is a joint application of Boston Properties and the MTA for redevelopment of MTA's former headquarters at 343 Madison Avenue. Here in the room with me is Rich Monopoly of Boston Properties. Also here on Zoom is Robert Paley from the MTA and Andrew Cleary of KPF Architects. Next slide, please. On the left here is a map of the East Midtown subdistrict of the Special Midtown District. Highlighted in orange, pretty small, is the 343 Madison site, which is located within the Vanderbilt Corridor sub-area in the larger orange rectangle. Under the Vanderbilt Corridor zoning controls, the applicants are seeking an increase in floor area from 15 FAR to 30 FAR through the public realm improvement bonus. The application will facilitate a building of approximately 753,000 square feet. The application also seeks the companion special permit for modifications to height and setback and mandatory district plan elements for a building utilizing additional floor area. Bob will give some background on the project's importance for the MTA. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Zach. I'm Bob Paley, Director of Transit-Oriented Development at the MTA. This project has been long in the planning. In 2015, MTA moved out of our Madison Avenue building and consolidated staff at 2 Broadway. Following an RFP and competitive bidding process, the MTA board approved the selection of Boston Properties to develop the property under a 99-year ground lease. Under the approved transaction, Boston Properties will be paying to MTA yearly rental payments as well as full property taxes. As contemplated by the RFP, these payments will provide critical ongoing funds to support MTA's capital budget. Next slide, please. The project will provide both on-site and off-site transit improvements. Off-site, there will be 3 scopes of circulation improvements within the 42nd Street subway station. On-site, the project will construct the first direct entrance to the Long Island Railroad's new station on the east side, which we refer to as East Side Access. Zach will walk through the details of the off-site improvements first. Next slide, please.
On screen now is the 42nd Street subway station. The Lexington line platform, shown in green at the left of the screen, runs at a diagonal here. The Flushing line platform, shown in purple, runs east-west, a level below the Lexington line. The proposed off-site improvements provide 3 critical packages of improvements to these platforms, which I'll walk you through one by one. Next slide, please. The first improvement is expansion of the 2 staircases leading from the northbound 456 platform to allow an additional passenger lane at each stair, increasing capacity by 1/3. This will contribute to better on-time performance on the Lexington line. Next slide, please. This is a photo illustrating the expansion of each of these transfer stairs. Next slide, please. Moving down to the Flushing line platform, the second scope of work is construction of a new passageway and a pair of staircases at the center of the platform, where no stair exists today. The additional stairs will reduce the time passengers are lined up on the platform waiting to move toward their destinations. To connect this stair, a new passageway will be constructed underneath Lexington Avenue, which you can see above on the left side of the screen, as an extension of the existing mezzanine level for the Flushing line. Next slide, please. Here's a rendering of the new passageway. It's outlined in orange or yellow on the screen. Right now, there's a wall there, and the passageway you see looking forward is underneath Lexington Avenue, as I described. Next slide, please. This is a photo of the existing condition of the platform. Note the significant platform length to reach a stair far off in the distance. Next slide, please. This is a rendering of the proposed new stairs. This increases by half the number of stair options for passengers who are at the middle part of the platform. Next slide, please. The third scope of offsite improvements is widening the east end stair, which connects up to 3rd Avenue from 4 lanes to 6 lanes. This stair is currently a bottleneck in the passenger flow, causing backups on the platform. The expansion will provide improved passenger flow and a better rider experience. Next slide, please. Here's an image of the existing east end stairs with the white on the sides illustrating the 33% expansion that is proposed. Next slide, please. This is a rendering of the proposed new stairs with 3 lanes instead of 2, 3 stairways and 6 lanes instead of 4 lanes. I'll turn it back to Bob to introduce the on-site improvements. Next slide, please.
Next year, MTA will introduce the new East Side Access Terminal for Long Island Railroad, and that the platforms for this terminal are located 160 feet below Park Avenue. Riders will get from their trains to the new Concourse using a set of 3 escalator banks from track level. The largest escalator bank is at 45th Street, located at the southern end of the platform. Using currently planned street exits north and south of the development site, riders using this escalator bank would need to travel north or south to the street. Next slide, please. The redevelopment of 343 Madison allows our first direct escalators between street level and the Concourse. The direct access will be located in line with our largest escalator bank to the platform, directly in the desired path of travel of many riders. As compared to traveling north or south to exit this entry, substantially reduced travel times for our riders. Rich Monopoly from Boston Properties will walk you through this major improvement. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Bob. I'm Rich Monopoly, Senior Vice President of Development for the New York region at Boston Properties. Thank you for having us today. This slide shows the existing site conditions with the ESA Concourse adjacent to bedrock below the site. Next slide, please. The new entrance will connect directly Madison Avenue to the ESA Concourse level. Construction of this improvement involves excavation through bedrock to 50 feet below grade. Next slide, please. After the excavation of bedrock, we will install and maintain the following station elements: 3 escalators to reach the station 50 feet below grade, a new stairway you see in the center alongside the escalators, and on the right-hand side, an ADA elevator between street level and the ESA Concourse level. This rendering shows these elements leading to and from the ESA Concourse. Next slide, please. And here's a rendering of the new entrance looking south from 45th Street. We have recessed the building above, allowed a double height transparent entrance to stand out prominently from the rest of the building. This will become a well-known connection point in East Midtown. With that, I'll turn it over to Andrew Cleary of KPF to tell you more about the building itself.
Next slide, please. Thank you, Rich.
The site footprint is 25,000 square feet in area, which is relatively small for an office development. Within this footprint, the site planning is guided by the MTA's vent building on the south and the new transit entrance on the north. We are pushing the building back from Madison Avenue as required to create a 20-foot wide sidewalk, and we're widening the 45th Street sidewalk to 15 feet. Next slide, please. Taking those considerations into account, our core with the elevators will be at the eastern edge of the site. The building lobby will be along Madison Avenue, and required loading docks will be along 44th Street, with retail at the 44th Street corner and along 45th Street. Next slide, please. The architecture of the building starts with looking at its function. At the left is an illustration of our initial massing study showing a simple podium and tower with the elevatoring layered in. From there, we begin to articulate the architecture, taking into account the drop-offs at the elevator banks as the building rises. The center diagram illustrates the building's recesses along the entirety of the northwest corner, highlighting the new transit entrance as a distinctive element of the streetscape. The right-hand diagram illustrates the setbacks at the south of the building, breaking up the mass as the building rises. Next, please. This context elevation illustrates how the podium sits with the varying street walls of its neighbors. Our base at 321 feet is below that of our southern neighbor at 335 Madison, and similar to the height of the Yale Club to our east. The total building height of 1,050 feet is lower than One Vanderbilt and similar to that of Chrysler Building, which you can see in the background a few blocks away. Next, please. And here is a view from East 45th Street looking or showing another view of the transit entrance sitting proud with the building entrance with the building recessed above. Next, please.
I'm afraid that the time has expired.
Okay.
And so I will now toss it over to commissioners for questioning, while also noting that both Commissioners Capelli and Cerullo are recused from this item. Questions? Commissioner Burney.
I believe the community board, actually both community boards, opined that while these transit improvements are very welcome, they don't merit 15 FAR 376,000 square foot bonus. What is your answer to that?
For one thing, I would say I'm not sure there was a full appreciation of the extent of the improvements connecting to East Side access, and we've worked very hard since those hearings to update our materials to really show how the concourse hits bedrock at our site, and to get the view that you saw rendered inside of the transit entrance, to really explain the extent of these improvements and how they connect up. I think it's difficult to envision the new East Side Access Concourse, which is a whole new station and terminal in East Midtown. So, for one thing, I think it was difficult to fully grasp the importance and the difficulty of constructing that entrance. For the offsite improvements, these are improvements that are listed in the East Midtown text with values that were applied there. And while I recognize that those values are not directly relevant in the Vanderbilt corridor because we're not using that East Midtown text, that was the baseline for thinking about them. And we also, I think, improved our materials to better explain the benefits of the Flushing line improvements. So, I believe that was in part a messaging issue, and we think these improvements are very similar to One Vanderbilt on a slightly smaller scale, given the smaller scale of this building.
And have you revisited that issue with the community board on that basis then, or?
We have not. We did not have these materials ready for them, these improved materials, at least as I'm describing today. But we would be happy to meet with them further, of course.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Well, then, thank you to the applicant team, and we will now turn to Madam Borough President, and as is our practice, there is no time limit for her presentation, or for her testimony.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I won't be long. I will say I am Gail Brandman, Borough President, and I have to say that in this particular case, Boston Properties and the MTA, I think, have presented a thoughtful proposal that will provide new funding for the MTA's capital program, as well as pivotal transit improvement for East Midtown, which we know is a critical hub for the city of New York. An area like East Midtown is capable of absorbing the added density that this development will bring. And it is to ensure that the floor area bonus is commensurate with the public realm and transit improvements that the applicant team proposes. And I certainly want to thank Commissioner Burney for bringing that up. As you know, and was mentioned earlier, Community Board 5 and 6 have raised substantive issues with the proposed project. I have looked at their concerns and I've met with the applicant team on numerous occasions to address these issues as well as some of my own concerns. I have also toured the site to see firsthand how helpful the proposed transit improvements can be for commuters. And I want to thank the MTA and Boston Properties. I have to say, Boston Properties is fine, and we know that they're doing a good job, but my heroes are the folks from the MTA who really, really do care about the system. I see this project as one that is in keeping with the goals of the East Midtown rezoning, which I have certainly spent many hours on, even though it's located in the Vanderbilt corridor, where I've also spent many hours. We are granting density in exchange for extensive public benefits, and I believe the trade-off is in the interest of the city. However, again, as Commissioner Burney suggested, I believe that the additional 15 FAR that the applicant is requesting warrants additional contributions beyond what they initially proposed. And I know we just heard an answer to that, but more could be done. To that end, and again, this may not answer the question for the city council or for you, but the applicant has agreed to additional improvements, which will include a sidewalk widening along East 44th Street between Vanderbilt and Madison Avenue, a much needed improvement identified by both the Department of Transportation and the East Midtown Governing Group Concept Plan, which I sit on. Additionally, something that may not cost a lot of money, but something that I care about and have pushed for, I have received a commitment from the applicant team to provide art installation opportunities for local artists in both the on-site transit, and I can see they had art things there, and retail spaces, as well as, much more important to me, dedicated, affordable art space on site for New York-based arts organizations, and it should be free. I have long fought for the arts in Manhattan, and while some developers promise vague support for local artists and organizations, saying that they can put up a mural or something, dedicated spaces are a substantial asset for the artist communities that bring the city to life. Shoshama, which of course is run by Anita Durst, is an example, and I believe strongly that we have to work more for our artists. This would be an example. I think all office buildings being built, Madam Chair, should include something for the artists, and it should be free, and it should be something that is a working artist, not just a mural. So while I am glad to see the commitment I've just outlined, I still urge the applicant to also consider accessible and affordable office layouts in the proposed development, as well as the dedicated funding stream for the proposed off-site improvements. I think that we're all concerned about what the future commercial office looks like, and we suggest strongly that smaller office space be available. I believe the commitments I have received from the applicant team illustrate their dedication to the neighborhood and the city as a whole. I support this project and urge you to as well. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today in support of this application, and I appreciate all of your good questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions for the Borough President? Vice Chair Knuckles.
Borough President, thank you for your testimony. I note that both community boards as well as your set of conditions contain the sentence, rental money generated should be used for improvements in the community in which it is located. What precisely do you mean there?
Well, in my case, I am obviously talking about, things that artists and whatever is done. Obviously, Midtown is not necessarily a neighborhood residential community, but I would hope that they would use the artist community as a whole to be welcome at this building. That's what I've been talking about. In terms of other projects, I don't know. Obviously, we want the vendors that are local. I don't think there's much retail here, but I don't want chain stores. Everything that we can think of that makes a better streetscape is what I've been talking about. I don't know exactly what the community board is mentioning, but I think they're saying something similar. Use local talent.
Thank you.
Other questions? Well, thank you as always, Madam Borough President, for testifying. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, our next speaker will be Marissa Williams, to be followed by Santos Rodriguez.
Good morning, Chair Lago and members of the Commission. My name is Marissa Williams, and I'm a representative of 32BJ SEIU. As you know, 32BJ is the largest property service union, representing 85,000 property service workers across the city. We represent workers who maintain, clean, and provide building services, such as the building being discussed at 343 Madison Avenue. We estimate that this rezoning, which will allow the construction of almost 1 million gross square feet of commercial office space, will lead to the creation of 29 cleaner, 13 security, and other new building service jobs. We believe that the best way to make sure that developments like the one proposed have a positive impact on building service workers is for developers to make a formal commitment to pay the prevailing wage. We are pleased to let you know that the developer affiliated with this project, Boston Properties, has a track record of creating good jobs throughout their portfolio and a long-time partnership with 32BJ. BXP has reached out and made an early and credible commitment to creating prevailing wage building service jobs at this site. We have full confidence that BXP will continue to be a responsible employer and presence in the community and are in support of this project. We know that this development will continue to uphold the industry standard and provide opportunities for working families to thrive in Manhattan. We need good paying jobs that can lift our neighbors up. On behalf of 32BJ SEIU, I respectfully urge you to approve this project.
Thank you. Question for Ms. Williams. Our next speaker will be Santos Rodriguez, followed by Ryan Pukos.
Santos does not appear to be in the room.
Okay, then it will be Ryan Pukos, followed by Paul Selver.
Hello, good morning, commissioners. My name is Ryan Pukos, and I am a senior project manager with the Grand Central Partnership. The Grand Central Partnership is a business improvement district serving an approximately 70 square block area in Midtown East surrounding Grand Central Terminal. As one of the world's largest bids serving a district with 73 million square feet of commercial, residential, and retail building space, our goal is to keep Midtown East clean, safe, and thriving. We believe that the redevelopment of 343 Madison supports this goal in several important ways. First, the redevelopment will unlock privately generated revenue that can be used to make transit upgrades to enhance connectivity and safety in the district, including improvements to the 7-line platform in the Grand Central 42nd Street subway station. The redevelopment will also enable a new state-of-the-art transit entrance on Madison Avenue with direct connection to Grand Central Terminal and the new East Side Access Long Island Railroad Terminal. Second, 343 Madison addresses a long-term challenge for our district by replacing aging commercial infrastructure with a modern, efficient, and sustainable Class A office building, one of the most critical goals of the 2017 Greater East Midtown rezoning. The new building will help attract and retain world-class talent and businesses that seek new construction and flexible office space. Finally, 343 Madison represents a critical investment in the economic health of Midtown East and the city at large. In the short term, this investment will support the city's economic recovery by creating thousands of well-paying jobs and bringing more workers to the district to support our restaurants, retailers, and other businesses. In the long term, it will boost tax revenue and help ensure that Midtown East remains a premier central business district and vibrant destination for New Yorkers and visitors alike. For these reasons, we urge the City Planning Commission to approve 343 Madison Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Pukos? Thank you. Our next speaker will be Paul Selver.
So thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. I'm Paul Selver, member of the firm of Kramer Levin, counsel to 335 Madison LLC, which owns 335 Madison Avenue. 335 Madison Avenue is a 1.1 million square foot office building with 2 loading bays on 44th Street, 2 loading bays on Vanderbilt Avenue, and a 90-space parking garage that enters from 44th Street. 44th Street is also the location of 343 Madison's proposed loading bays. I'm here to offer some comments on the 343 Madison draft EIS. and these comments should be understood in the context of our client's support for the project. Our client has reviewed the DEIS with Michael Haradnichenu, a principal of the Urban Advisory Group. The review concluded that the DEIS does not fully address the project's impacts on the complex loading, traffic, and pedestrian conditions that exist today on 44th Street. It also indicated that further analysis would be helpful to ensuring that the final EIS identified all significant adverse traffic and pedestrian impacts and discussed appropriate mitigation. I want to focus today on the DEIS's analysis of goods movement. This is a key issue because zoning waivers are being sought for curb cuts and for head-in, head-out loading. The problem is that the DEIS does not describe the very difficult existing conditions on 44th Street, which include truck double parking and maneuvering to access loading bays that cause traffic buildup and that sometimes spills back onto Madison Avenue, nor does it address the impact of the zoning modifications. The absence of an accurate description of existing activities prevents the DEIS from providing, in the words of the secret technical manual, the building block upon which all impact analyses are based. And the technical manual goes on to say that a transportation analysis should consider the capacity of the proposed loading areas to accommodate the expected volume of deliveries and the ability to do so without interfering with vehicular, pedestrian, and bicycle traffic or compromising safety. If the DEIS does not address either how goods movements for the project would coexist with existing loading operations on 44th Street, or whether trucks maneuvering to enter and exit the loading bay could impact pedestrian safety or exacerbate vehicular traffic conditions on 44th Street, including possible additional spillback to Madison Avenue. We will be addressing the loading bay issue and a number of other transportation and pedestrian related issues in a more detailed written submission to follow. I want to close by reiterating our client's overall support for the project. Our comments today are intended to be constructive and a first step toward addressing its concerns. Our client is prepared to work with both Boston Properties and the city in taking the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you for pitch perfect timing. And questions from Mr. Selver? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not seeing any other folks who have signed up.
Mr. Santos Rodriguez has re-entered the Zoom room.
Fantastic. We'll welcome his testimony.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, and sorry for the technical difficulties. I guess these days we're all a little bit challenged at times. Thank you very much, Commission members, City Planning Commission members. So good afternoon. I am Santos Rodriguez. I am here to testify on behalf of Gary LaBarbera, President of the Building and Construction Trades Council of Greater New York and vicinity. In September of 2020 and May of 2021, the Building and Construction Trades Council testified in support of this project. We continue to support the 343 Madison Avenue project today. The Building and Construction Trades Council is an organization of local building and construction trades unions that are affiliated with 15 international unions in North America's building trade unions. Our local union affiliates represent approximately 100,000 union construction workers. The building trades mission is to rise the standard of living for all workers, to advocate for safe working conditions and a collectively advanced working conditions for our affiliates, members, as well as all workers in New York. Boston Properties 343 Madison project is a significant investment in Midtown Manhattan that sends a strong message that New York City will recover and rebound from the pandemic. It represents an opportunity to create hundreds, if not thousands, of new union construction jobs that will support a middle-class lifestyle, provide area standard wages and benefits to support workers and their families. The project will provide important stability in the years to come, as the construction will span several years, providing job opportunities through demolition, construction, and post-construction jobs. It's an opportunity that welcomes back people to the office and revitalize Midtown neighborhoods and surrounding businesses, while also creating new jobs. The project consists of 753,000 square feet and rises up over 1,050 feet tall. With a Class A office space above ground floor retail, the building itself is designed to increase sustainability, accessibility, and wellness by maximizing energy use reduction, enhancing indoor quality with ventilation and utilization other green technologies, materials, and equipment. Notably, the project will develop a new east side access entrance and other upgrades to stairs and passageways that will improve access circulation through various transportation facilities, including New York City Transit 7 line and 4, 5, and 6 lines. These upgrades to our city's transportation infrastructure will assist commuters navigating through Midtown Manhattan, as well as increase tax revenue for the MTA, city, and state. The Building and Construction Trades Council of Greater New York and Vicinity supports 343 Madison Avenue, as it will improve the lives of many New Yorkers, modernize our city, and create middle-class jobs for our members in the process. We thank you again for the opportunity to testify in support of this project. Thank you.
And another perfectly timed presentation. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Other questions? Any questions? Again, thank you.
Thank you.
And Ryan, has anyone else signed up electronically?
There are no further speakers signed up for this item.
Okay, I know that there are people in the room. If anyone would like to be heard on this particular matter, please come forward. Seeing none, the public hearing on this matter is closed. Oh, actually, one more thing. I'm sorry. Before closing it, I should note that the record is going to remain open through Monday, August 30th, 2021, to receive written comments on the draft environmental impact statement. And now the public hearing truly is closed.
Borough of Brooklyn, calendar numbers 57 through 60. CD6, calendar number 57, C180039, MMK, calendar number 58, C200319, PCK, calendar number 59, C200320, MMK, calendar number 60, C200321, PSK. A public hearing in the matter of applications for city map amendments and site selection and acquisition of property concerning Gowanus Canal CSO facility.
We will have a 10-minute team presentation by a team comprised of Alicia West, Rashid Lucas, and Kevin Clark.
Good morning. Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Kevin Clark, and I am a portfolio manager with the DEP Bureau of Engineering, Design, and Construction, responsible for the implementation of the Gowanus Superfund Combined Sewer Overflow Tanks Program. Next slide, please. Today, I'm joined by my colleagues, Rashid Lucas from DEP's Bureau of Environmental Planning and Analysis, and Alicia West from DEP's Bureau of Public Affairs and Communications. And we are pleased to be here today to present the ULURP application for the Gowanus Canal Combined Sewer Overflow Owl's Head facility. Next slide, please. After the Gowanus Canal was constructed in the 1860s, it quickly became one of the nation's busiest industrial waterways, serving heavy industries, including chemical plants, oil refineries, and 3 manufactured gas plants. In 2010, the US EPA designated the Gowanus Canal a Superfund site, identifying a number of potential responsible parties, including New York City and National Grid. As per the 2013 Record of Decision, the EPA has required the city to remediate petroleum-based contaminants in the canal and reduce combined sewer overflow discharges to the canal. Combined sewer overflows are also known as CSOs for short. The city will construct 2 underground CSO tanks and associated head houses to intercept and store those CSOs during wet weather events until the wet weather subsides, and the combined sewage can then be pumped to the local wastewater treatment plant for treatment. Next slide, please. The Gowanus Canal CSO facilities will continue the city's ongoing work with both gray and green infrastructure projects to limit CSOs into the canal, with 2 underground tanks and associated head houses to intercept and store the CSOs during wet weather events. The head end facility is located at the top of the canal and features an 8 million gallon tank. That project went through ULURP in 2017 and is nearing construction, with a scheduled completion date for the facility and the open space associated with it there in late 2030. The second facility, the one we are here to discuss today, is located at the bend of the canal. That is the Owl's Head site, which will have a 4 million gallon CSO storage tank. Both sites have associated above ground structures, we call them head houses, to house pumps, screens, electrical equipment, and most importantly, odor control. Next slide, please. To build the Owl's Head CSO facility, the city is moving forward with the 4 ULURP actions, and that is what we're here to present today. These actions include the site selection and acquisition of 4 privately owned lots, site selection of a city-owned lot, and 2 city map amendments to demap 5th Street between 2nd Avenue and the canal, and to demap Douglas Street between Nevin Street and the canal within the head and facility site. Next slide, please. The Owl's Head facility site is within the Southwest Brooklyn Industrial Business Zone, IBZ, and this map shows that the majority of properties in the area are zoned industrial and manufacturing. Next slide, please. Here's an aerial of the site overlaid with the block and lot information of the parcels we plan to site select and acquire. Block 977, Lot 3 is already owned by the city and is home to the Department of Sanitation salt shed and plow storage, as well as composting and nursery facilities operated by Big Reuse in partnership with the Gowanus Canal Conservancy. We are working closely with sanitation and these organizations to relocate their operations during construction and reestablish permanent facilities for them on site. Next slide, please. Here's an illustrative slide of the conceptual layout for the use of the site. The salmon colored triangle at the top is the area that will be used for the DEP CSO tank and associated head house. And the yellow areas will be used for construction staging of the CSO tank, relocation of DSNY's operations and Big Reuse and GCC's facilities, and also provide some open space along the waterfront. Next slide, please. The first city map amendment would demap 5th Street between 2nd Avenue and the canal. And next slide, please. And the second city map amendment is at the head end facility site, and that would demap Douglas Street, which is a paper street between Nevin Street and the canal. And at this point, I'd like to turn over the presentation to my colleague, Rashid Lucas.
Thanks, Kevin. So next slide, please. So in February 2018, we issued an environmental impact statement, or EIS, which identified potential impacts in historic resources. DEP issued a technical memorandum this past April to review the environmental impact area and found no changes since 2018. DEP since completed a geoarchaeological assessment and concluded that there is a low potential to impact deeply buried archaeological sites. Nevertheless, DEP has committed to conduct archaeological monitoring during construction activities. I'd like to pass it over to Lisa now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So this is our anticipated schedule. We hope to complete ULURP later this year, and we are just kicking off design of the facility, and we plan to complete design in fall 2023. Construction is anticipated to take approximately 5 years with completion in 2028. We've broken up the construction into 3 construction packages. We call those CPs, and they have overlapping timelines, and the durations are noted on this slide. CP1, construction package 1, is site prep and demolition of the existing facilities, as well as relocation of DSNY's facilities. CP2 is all of the below ground work, so that includes the installation of the supportive excavation, the excavation itself, and the below ground structures. CP3 is the above ground work, including the head house and the fit out. Next slide, please. So the city has been in contact with property owners and the tenants on the parcels to be acquired. We're working with the South Brooklyn Industrial Development Corporation in our outreach to the tenants. And just this Monday, we had our first forum to discuss the project, how it will impact the tenants and what resources are available to them. And we plan to work with SBIDC to keep the line of communication open, provide updates, and answer questions as they arise. Like we did with the head end site acquisition, the city will provide relocation services for business tenants. So that includes help in identifying new locations based on the tenant's needs, coordinating showings, and facilitating negotiations. This also includes potential reimbursement for reasonable moving expenses and compensation for trade fixtures. So based on our schedule, we estimate that we could acquire the properties as early as spring 2022, and we would not require tenants to vacate at that time. Rather, the city would become the landlord and assist with relocation by the end of the year. Next slide, please. In our community outreach related to the head end tank site, we had a series of meetings, workshops, and hearings in partnership with community stakeholders and also Councilman Levin's office. As we begin the design process for our Owl's Head tank, we are planning a number of opportunities for public engagement to educate the community about the project, to hear from folks about what they'd like to see here, and to solicit feedback on the design. We're working closely with Councilmember Lander's office, as well as the Gowanus Canal Conservancy and SBIDC, to ensure that we have an opportunity to hear from the key stakeholders and the community at large. We know there's a great deal of interest in the site, and as we embark on the design, it's important for all of us to ensure that we have a clear line of communication with the public. So that's our brief presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for the applicant team? Commissioner Burney.
So I just wonder, Alicia West, wearing your former Public Design Commission hat, will the design for these projects be going to the Public Design Commission for review?
Absolutely, yes. Same as the head-end site. Yes.
Okay, well, I'll leave it in your capable hands.
Thank you for putting that on the record. So I will thank the applicant team, and we will follow our practice of beginning with speakers in opposition and then speakers in support. And our first speaker is Justin Green, to be followed by Julia Ehrman.
Hi. Thanks. I'm not in opposition. I guess I don't know how the categories were not exactly. We just had some comments. So we certainly support the CSO, and we're really appreciating the effort to relocate our compost site that's located there, and working with Gowanus Canal Conservancy to also relocate their nursery. So just wanted to testify in support of that effort to relocate our community sites that provide community benefit through our composting, and we receive as a city eliminated its food scrap drop-offs or curbside composting. Our compost site in Brooklyn has served one of the main composting sites for food scrap drop-offs at farmers markets, at community gardens throughout Brooklyn, and returns that the compost we provide there make there to community gardens and to improvements along the Gowanus Canal Conservancy. So, our Gowanus Canal. So we just wanted to testify in support of a design that incorporates our compost site back into the area as a permanent part of that, and also includes Gowanus Canal Conservancy and their nursery and their community activism back into the site as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Green? Our next speaker will be Julia Ehrman, to be followed by Diana Gruberg.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Ehrman. I am the Land Use Director in the Office of Councilmember Brad Lander, and I'll be reading testimony on behalf of the council member today. I want to thank the Department of Environmental Protection and the Commission for their work to advance the remediation of the Gowanus Canal, and the Commission for their attentive review of this application and the Gowanus Neighborhood Plan, which are deeply connected. The rezoning of the salt lot to facilitate the construction of the Owl's Head CSO tank is essential to the success of the Gowanus Canal cleanup and the environmental health of our community. I'm excited that this important project will be moving forward, and will continue to work with DEP and the EPA to ensure that the project advances on the timeline required through the Superfund. The salt lot is a unique space that is currently home to one of our city's only local composting facilities, which was funded through participatory budgeting and as operated by Big Reuse. The Gowanus Canal Conservancy's outdoor nursery, where they conduct ecological stewardship, educational and workforce development activities, and several longtime industrial business tenants. As this rezoning application moves forward in tandem with the Gowanus neighborhood rezoning, we have a responsibility to consider the collective goals established through that community planning process, which firmly prioritize environmental stewardship and industrial business retention on this important site. The salt lot rezoning must include provisions for current occupants and a commitment to provide space for the compost nursery and affordable manufacturing in the final site design. In addition to a long-term plan, DSNY and DEP should work closely with GCC, that's the Gowanus Canal Conservancy, and Big Reuse to make a temporary relocation plan for the construction period, which I understand you are doing already, but it's something that we want to make sure advances. This will be necessary, as you've mentioned, as soon as January of 2022, when the bulkhead construction is scheduled to begin. There are several city-owned sites in Gowanus that seem promising and should be evaluated for suitability. We've discussed this with DEP and Parks, including the salt lot itself. I appreciate the work that DEP and DSNY have already done reaching out to both organizations and look forward to working together expeditiously to ensure that these operations can continue without interruption. The salt lot has the potential to be a transformative neighborhood asset and open space. By integrating public open space on the site plan, the 3.5-acre site can help the city address the Gowanus rezoning's open space deficit. The tank construction is absolutely essential, but it will result in the destruction of a remarkable local ecology. Moving forward, the site can and should contribute to ecological restoration through elements like biodiverse plantings, soft shoreline edges for wildlife habitat, and salt marsh installation. To ensure access to the site and broader connectivity around—
Ms. Lerman, I'm afraid your time is up. If you could submit the letter so that we can have access to the complete testimony, would appreciate that.
I have 2 more sentences. Can I finish?
I'm afraid we have a day of very long hearings. It is only to the elected officials themselves that we extend the courtesy of having unlimited time. So okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Diana Gruberg, to be followed by Jordan Hyden.
Good afternoon. My name is Diana Gruberg, and I am the Landscape Director at Gowanus Canal Conservancy. Since 2010, we have headquartered community stewardship, education for local students, and a native plant nursery at the BK6 salt lot, the proposed site for the Owl's Head CSO tank. I myself have worked on the site for the past 6 years, working with students and volunteers to grow plants, distribute compost, and create biodiverse gardens. While we support this proposed critical infrastructure to reduce CSO into the canal, we implore the city to commit and follow through on our 3 asks. 1, communicate effectively and regularly with site occupants. 2, provide support for relocation. And 3, produce a final site design that keeps the salt lot the eco-industrial heart of Gowanus. Over the last decade, we have planted thousands of native plants in demonstration gardens and restoration areas at the salt lot and the 2nd Avenue Street End Garden, which is right adjacent to the site. This restoration work has yielded the most biodiverse site along the Gowanus Canal, where for the first time in over a century, you can now find salt marsh grasses, supporting a community of mussels and crabs, reasserting the 400 acres of salt marsh that once existed here. Today on site, the 17,000 square feet of native ecosystems and public spaces found at the salt lot collectively manage all of the site's stormwater, while providing habitat for marine life, shorebirds, invertebrates, and small mammals. We've conducted annual biological surveys, and we've documented over 280 species on this site alone. Many of these are considered species of greatest conservation need by the State Department of Environmental Conservation because they are vulnerable or imperiled in New York. These include the great blue heron, the laughing gull, the mummy chog, the Atlantic silverside, and five-angled dodder. The city will be required to provide restoration under a likely natural resource damages assessment associated with the Superfund. But this investment could get directed off-site to places like Jamaica Bay if there are no local options. So the city must commit to keep these dollars and this habitat here in Gowanus by dedicating a portion of this site for restoration of the critical habitat that we have lost already and will continue to lose, again with this project. The city must commit to include in the long-term site design biodiverse plantings, soft waterfront edges, and a large-scale intertidal marsh installation integrated into public space. The health of our ecosystem depends on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gruberg. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Jordan Hyden, to be followed by Joanne Zoe. Jordan Hyden.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Jordan Hyden, and I'm the Engagement Manager at the Gowanus Canal Conservancy. While we do support the critical infrastructure to reduce CSO into the canal, the city must commit to 1, communicate effectively and regularly with site occupants, 2, provide support for upcoming relocation, and 3, produce a final site design that keeps the salt lot the eco-industrial heart of Gowanus. In the last 10 years, GCC has hosted over 5,000 local K-12 students on the salt lot for field trips to learn about environmental issues and potential solutions in Gowanus. Students test the water quality to investigate the impacts of combined sewer overflow and learn about gray and green infrastructure. They also propagate native plants to explore local ecosystems and biodiversity. These education opportunities engage local students and their families in the critical environmental issues facing Gowanus and help build the next generation of environmental advocates. The future site design should include space and support for a new facility for experiential, science, and design-based learning for local students. Additionally, site design should include a comprehensive interpretation plan for the Owl's Head CSO facility, including signage, urban watershed models, and demonstration green infrastructure. It is essential that we connect place-based learning to better understanding our own urban environment. The city has demonstrated in previous installations that this type of work is possible, and we hope to see it for our site as well. Our next generation of environmental stewards depends on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Hayden? Thank you for testifying. Our next speaker will be Joanne Zhou, to be followed by Anthony Pimplo.
Hello. My name is Joanne Zhou, and I am the Youth Stewardship Manager and Nursery Coordinator at Gowanus Canal Conservancy. While we do support the critical infrastructure to reduce CSO into the canal, the city must commit to 1, communicate effectively and regularly with site occupants, 2, provide support for upcoming relocation, and 3, produce a final site design that keeps the salt lot the eco-industrial heart of Gowanus. I'm here to talk about the importance of the salt lot, which is where many of our operations, such as the native plant nursery and composting, take place. I manage paid youth in presences who grew up in Gowanus and Brooklyn area and introduce them and integrate them into our work at GCC. Our site is where local youth can come experience and see the cycle of life for plants, animals, insects, and the seasons. This site is important because it seeds passion and excitement for hands-on work with the land, soil, compost, plants, and so much more. I grew up in Brooklyn and never dreamed of working in horticulture and public green space because I rarely saw it, let alone experienced it. Some local youth I interviewed for the paid environmental stewardship apprenticeship have never worked with plants and soil before. I remember vividly interviewing a high school sophomore one year, and she told me she had never even owned a houseplant before. And this stuck with me because it resonated with my own upbringing in a low-income community color. And now I feel very grateful and honored to work in horticulture and see youth's eyes shine with interest as they move through the apprenticeship. Some of the youth who go through our program did not even know jobs like this existed, and some walk away with a new profound passion and interest in environmental work. This is why a site like the Salt Lot is incredibly valuable and needed in communities like Gowanus. It's an opportunity to create a long, loving connection with our planet, which can get lost easily in a city like New York City. In terms of where we stand now, we will need the city to provide a temporary site by the end of this year when site work begins, or youth program will not be able to continue. We need the site to foster current and future youth with budding green thumbs and a passion for a healthy living planet and environment.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Zhou? Again, thank you. Our next speaker is Anthony Pimplo, to be followed by Madison Myers.
Hi, my name is Anthony Pimentel. I'm a Green Team Senior Apprentice at Gowanus Canal Conservancy, and I would like to testify about the importance of environmental work that happens at the Salt Lot. The Gowanus Canal Conservancy and our home at the Salt Lot is a necessity to the place we call New York City. But work such as maintenance, taking care of street trees, in addition to visiting different places within the city, has taught me a lot. These skills I have learned I will be taking with me in my future as I go into college fighting for a future. The green work that we have done has taught me to love my surroundings and the environment that we live in. The people I worked with taught me to persevere and to always be myself no matter the struggle. The collaborative work that we have done with other organizations and people looking to help our earth has taught me that there is a way to get people interested in green work. The Salt Lot was the first place I had received a job, and I ended up coming back a second year because I loved my experience the first time around. And I just wanted to help even more. Growing up in the city, there was trash almost everywhere, and there were people littering and smoking and driving, messing up the entire ecosystem. The amount of buildings that are being built is leaving little to no room for green space, and without green space, there's no healthy air for people to breathe. The city is rough, and being able to help it spread its beauty within different green spaces allows for other people to stop and pay attention to what we are doing. GCC deserves to be a part of the city's plans because of how much work we have put into taking care of the city and the people around it. Finally, I would like to thank GCC for helping me throughout my time being a part of the team and taking this next step in my life going into college. Thank you.
Thank you for such personal testimony, for sharing your experience. Questions from the commission? Again, thank you. Our next speaker is Madison Myers, to be followed by Dahlia Bolt.
Good afternoon. My name is Madison Myers, and I'm a Green Team Senior Apprentice with Gowanus Canal Conservancy. I'm an upcoming high school senior from Brooklyn. I would like to testify about the importance of the environmental work that happens at the salt lot, which will be displaced by the proposed combined sewage overflow tank. My experience with Gowanus Canal Conservancy working at the salt lot has been incredible. I joined the GCC team in the summer of 2020. It was my first job as a sophomore in high school. I just saw it as a way to get paid at first. But to my surprise, I ended up loving it. I was able to meet new people and learn new things. This program is important because it can give other youth an opportunity to help their community and also learn about it. Green Team is an opportunity for you to learn about ongoing environmental issues in a community and also how they can help solve the issues. Green Team also helps with maintenance at their native plant nursery, like potting up plants, weeding, watering, and more. GCC was able to help me have a different outlook on a lot of things. I never realized how important trees were, not only for us, but for the streets. For the streets, clean air, and the ecosystem as well. I never knew that those rain gardens that you see on the sidewalk helped with combined sewage overflow, which pollutes the Gowanus Canal almost every time it rains. I would have never learned these things without GCC, and I want other youth to experience that as well. Growing up in Brooklyn, I was never exposed to green spaces that much. I never noticed how many different types of plants there were and what they do for us. If I would have never worked for GCC, I would probably still be clueless. This program also allowed me to experience new things. About 3 weeks ago, I got the chance to cut Phragmites, a highly invasive species in the water at Prospect Park. The reason we had to cut down the Phragmites is because they're so invasive and they start to grow out of control. If they would have continued growing, they would have eventually taken over, and it would have taken nutrients and sunlight from other plants in the area. Never in a million years did I think I would have the opportunity to do that. I was also able to see 2 farms that I never knew existed in Brooklyn. I would love it if other kids got the chance to experience that too. Without GCC and our home base at the salt lot, I wouldn't have learned all the things I've learned and experienced the things I've experienced. I also wouldn't have been connected to the environment before.
Thanks so much, Ms. Myers, and for your rescue at Prospect Park. Questions? Thank you. Our next speaker will be Dahlia Bolt, to be followed by Andrea Parker.
Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Dahlia Isabella Bolt. I come from Chattanooga, Tennessee, but now live here in Brooklyn. One of the most important things about the Gowanus Salt Conservancy is the fact that the rain gardens they maintain absorb a lot of the rainwater runoff that we see in Brooklyn. Without that, the owl storage facility tank would be overflowed even further. So the Gowanus Canal's work, I work as an independent volunteer of the canal. They are able to maintain a lot of Brooklyn's greenery, and they are also able to absorb a lot of polluted water before it even reaches the tank, and is able to capture the water before it runs off the street. I have backgrounds in aquaponic engineering as well as a plant scientist, and seeing the native species in the area has proven to reduce a lot of, you would see weed management and a lot of local Brooklyn greenery, as well as encouraging the return of native species in the area. By planting these species we are seeing a vibrant community in Brooklyn. So it is utmost importance that we maintain the Gowanus salt lot in its native area, but we also support the new tank being built because, as I said with experience in hydroponics and aquaponics, this rainwater runoff is pollution to the city. It is a detriment to Brooklyn health and the health of all of New York City. So with the support of this tank, we are now able to store this runoff and properly treat it. So by maintaining the Gowanus Salt Conservancy's location in conjunction with the Owl Storage Head facility, we are building a cleaner, healthier community for Brooklyn.
Thank you for testifying. Questions for Ms. Polk? Thank you. Our next speaker will be Andrea Parker, to be followed by Brady Michelle.
Hi, thank you. I'm Andrea Parker, Executive Director of Gowanus Canal Conservancy. Good to see you all again. And I just want to say, as my colleagues have noted, we definitely support this critical infrastructure to reduce CSO, and we really do appreciate the work that the agencies have done so far in terms of collaborating with us. What we're asking for here today is a commitment, a long-term commitment to this collaboration that will really last through the actual final site design and implementation. So as I testified here just a few weeks ago, Gowanus is severely lacking in parks and open space. The city's DEIS for the Gowanus rezoning shows that even with the new open space created by the rezoning, there will be an adverse impact. The ratio is currently a fraction of the ratio that the city recommends. So the project before you today is a separate ULURP application. I urge you to think of the larger picture and ensure that your recommendations help address the overall concerns and needs of the neighborhood. As part of the overall rezoning, GCC has submitted comments outlining 10 additional acres of city land that should become open space in order to mitigate that adverse impact. 3.5 acres of that is on the salt lot. We have seen that DEP can create excellent public space in the Newtown Creek Nature Walk. Similarly, the agency should take this opportunity to integrate beautiful, immersive, educational, and ecologically productive public space into this critical infrastructure. This should include restoring the outdoor classrooms and demonstration gardens that currently exist, as well as investing in a much larger salt marsh restoration to continue fostering environmental awareness in our next generation. It should restore water access at 2nd Avenue and create an ADA accessible boat launch in the 6th Street turning basin to ensure the canal is accessible to all. And it should consider and create space for 2 potential pedestrian bridges across the canal to connect residents and students from the new development to the west and north to this incredible public amenity. Continuing to foster this eco-industrial heart, which provides both critical civic services as well as transformative experiences to the community, is going to require deep outreach and partnership with current site occupants and the larger community. We really do appreciate the efforts the agencies have made to work with us over the past 10 years and in planning for this coming transition. And we look forward to collaborating with the city over the coming years to advocate for a process and site design that address community needs. We ask today that you ensure that future administrations and agency staff continue to take and deepen a collaborative approach by requiring these commitments to public space, restoration, access, and community outreach as part of this ULURP approval. Thank you.
Thank you for coming back to testify again on this. Appreciate it, Ms. Parker. Questions? Commissioner Burney.
Hi, hello again. Just one question. So we've heard a lot of testimony about the salt lot and about the importance to your operations and so on. Have you guys had direct discussions with DEP about how that might be met in the planning that they're doing?
Yes, so we have, as Alicia mentioned, I believe we have talked a bit about the need for a temporary site. As I think someone said, we're going to need to have a temporary site as early as January. We've identified a couple potential city sites. I do think that we're going to need to make sure that we understand what the plan is, in the next month or two, so that we have the bandwidth to actually, do this move. In terms of the longer term site plan, I think it's figuring out with DSNY how the salt, compost, and nursery can all fit on the site for the short term.
But you believe there is a solution to that?
We definitely believe there is a solution. But I think that it's, I really appreciate working with Alicia and Kevin, and I just want to make sure that 10 years down the line, we're not left holding the bag because there hasn't been a commitment at this point. This is the only time that this process is actually going to go through land use, right? We're going to go through the Public Design Commission, but that's not necessarily a public process. So this is the one time that we could actually get a commitment to this longer term vision.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks again. Our next speaker is Brady Michel.
Thank you. My name is Brady Mikesell, and I'm the Economic Development Specialist at the Southwest Brooklyn Industrial Development Corporation. We're a nonprofit organization that provides services and advocacy to industrial and manufacturing businesses in Sunset Park, Red Hook, and here in Gowanus. I'm here to talk about the 6 businesses on 5th Street who stand to be displaced by this action, and I'll also be echoing the 3 asks that GCC laid out in their testimony. SBIDC recognizes the need for improved CSO infrastructure and a more ecologically sustainable Gowanus. But in these efforts, we urge the City Planning Commission and City Council to properly support the industrial businesses in the IBZ and ensure that Gowanus continues to be a center for good paying jobs that can support an inclusive economic recovery for the City of New York. The 6 businesses located on the salt lot include a steel construction company, an architectural design and fabrication firm, a manufacturer of wooden staircases, a food distributor, automobile repair, and a water line and sewer repair company. Collectively, they employ 85 people, a majority of whom are immigrants. Earlier this year, SBIDC spoke with the businesses and none had been informed of this ULURP application or their potential displacement. Since DEP's presentation to Community Board 6, SBIDC has worked with the businesses to inform them of this process, and we've held a productive meeting this past Monday between DEP and the businesses. I want to thank Alicia West and Kevin Clark, as well as their colleague Michael DeLoach, for their efforts to keep an open line of communication between DEP and the affected businesses in this regard, and we look forward to continuing to work with them to ensure that these businesses receive proper supports throughout the process. DEP has been helpful in laying out tentative timelines, but must ensure that small businesses have significant lead time in order to relocate. These businesses have made substantial investments in their current spaces. As just one example, Workspace 11 spent $75,000 on equipment installation, and another business spent $100,000 outfitting their current space. The city should provide fiscal assistance that covers the full cost of relocation, including higher rents now that the market rate has increased for industrial property, and compensation for these physical investments to ensure that these good local industrial jobs are not lost. DEP should continue to ensure regular and transparent communication with all the operators on the site, including Gowanus Canal Conservancy, Big Reuse, and the aforementioned businesses. Finally, after this project is complete, the city should take advantage of its new public space and invest in a green industrial business incubator for small businesses and entrepreneurs who specialize in energy retrofits, green building maintenance, or produce products for renewable energy. The future site should also include new programming to further resiliency on the site, salt marsh restoration, and a stewardship and education center. The team at SBIDC would be happy to partner with DEP and relevant city agencies in helping these businesses find a new home along the industrial waterfront. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Mikesell. Questions? Again, thank you for testifying. Edwin, are there any other folks who have signed up electronically?
No, Chair Lago. Mr. Mizell is our last speaker.
Great. I'll note that there are people in the room, and if anyone who has not yet testified would like to, now would be the time to come forward. Seeing none, the public hearing on this matter is closed.
Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 61 through 64, CD 16, calendar number 61, C210253, ZMK, calendar number 62, N210254, ZRK, calendar number 63, C210255, HAK, calendar number 64, C210256, HUK. A public hearing in the matter of applications for zoning map, zoning text amendments, UDAB, designation, project approval, disposition of city-owned property, and amendment to existing urban plan concerning Glenmore Manor.
We will have a 10-minute team presentation by a team comprised of Matthew Okabe, Makeda Marshall-Nesmith, Pat Logan, Lynn Zhang, Erica Keller, Patrick Logan, and who appears to be a duplicate perhaps, and Don Flagg.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Makeda Marshall-Nesmith, and I'm here on behalf of the Department of Housing, Preservation, and Development. I am joined here today by Lynn Zhang, also from HPD, and members of the development team for this presentation. I'm here to present a project that many of you may be familiar with, Glenmore Manor. Next slide, please. Glenmore Manor was certified by the City Planning Commission on April 19th, 2021. HPD is seeking the land use actions listed to support the development of Glenmore Manor. The sponsor team or development team consists of Breezer Builders, the African American Planning Commission, and Lemley and Wolf. Next slide, please. As some of you may remember, HPD led a collaborative community process launched in 2016 and worked with residents, community partners, and elected officials to understand the wants and needs in Brownsville. The Brownsville Plan identified 4 overall goals to act as a framework for current and future investment in Brownsville. The goals were achieve equitable health outcomes, improve neighborhood safety, promote community economic development, and foster local arts and identity. The process resulted in a plan to create over $1 billion investment in over 2,500 new affordable homes and the coordination of over $150 million in critical neighborhood investments. Glenmore Manor was designated as the entrepreneur and innovation site. HPD continues to share updates on the interagency progress on identified projects in meeting the goals and strategies set out in the plan through progress reports, online public project tracker, and biannual community partners meeting. I will now turn the presentation over to Erica Keller of Breezer Builders Development to provide more detailed overview of the development team and project. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Erica Keller, and I'm here representing Glenmore Manor Managers, which is a joint venture between Breezer Builders, African American Planning Commission, and Lemley and Wolf. Each of the partners are deeply committed to affordable housing in New York City, have had a track record of developing affordable housing in New York City, and look forward to working together on this project. Next slide, please. Glenmore Manor, as proposed in response to the RFP issued for Brownsville Site B, is approximately 11 stories at its greatest height. It is a step-down project, which is contextual in design. Approximately 50% of the units will be dedicated to families where there are a large number of 2- and 3-bedroom units. There's approximately 16 heirs units for low-income seniors, 60% AMI and below. And there is 18,000 square feet designed specifically for commercial and community facility space in response to the community's desire for entrepreneurship and innovation opportunities in the community. The residential amenities will support not only the 70 designated supportive housing units, but all of the residents will have opportunity to use a community room, a laundry room, a fitness room, bike storage area, tenant storage area, as well as general building storage. There will be a full-time social worker as well as caseworker on site as well. Approximately 9,000 square feet in the rear of the building will be eligible for the residents to use as open landscaped area in support of a green community. And lastly, there are 59 commercial parking spaces to support the Beeville Hub, both the community facility and commercial retail spaces. Next slide, please. The project is being financed by HPD's ELA program, which is the extremely low affordability, and will service households earning between 30% AMI and 80% AMI through income averaging. At least 50% of the units will be designated for families below the 50% AMI for that particular year. And 30% of the units will be designated for formerly homeless with supportive housing services. And as mentioned, there will be 16 heirs units for low-income seniors. On this sheet are the AMIs from the 2019 submission, where we have 30% AMIs income range as well as the rent range, where again, it supports that there is an emphasis for extreme affordability in this project. At this time, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Don Flagg from Think Architecture, which was our architectural partner for our response to the Brownsville RFP Site B. And he will give you an overview of the context of where the project is located and the thought process about the design.
Yes, I'm here. This is Don Flagg with Think Architecture, and good morning or good afternoon now. On the slide on the left is the aerial view of the site. The site is bounded by Glenmore Avenue at the south and Christopher Avenue to the east, and Mother Gaston to To the west, it's 1 block north of Pitkin Avenue and 1 block south of East New York Avenue. To the west are the Howard houses. To the east is a school, the Uncommon Schools Leadership, and south is our towers that range from 18 to 24 stories of public housing. On the photo on the upper right is a view from Glenmore looking north. You can see the school on the right. The site right now is empty and vacant. The next slide down from that, or next image, is a little further to the east, looking northwest at the vacant site, and you can see the Howard houses in the distance. Next slide, please. The design strategy for this project has been to locate the major bulk of the building to the south, adjacent or close to the 18 to 24 story towers, to be more contextual, and then to step down to the north along Christopher Avenue to the 3-story buildings that are adjacent to the site, as well as providing a 2-story structure, which you can just see the right-hand side of the project, that matches the height of the existing buildings along Mother Gaston. There are other strategies here, which is to break up the mass of the building with setbacks and indentations, and also to introduce different building materials. There is a gray brick, which is a little bit lightly shown on this drawing at the northern end of the project. The higher portions are a light gray fiber cement, and then the majority of the building is clad in a blue glazed brick. And you can see the garden just inside of the site. Next slide, please. This is a site plan of the project with Mother Gaston on the top of the drawing, Mother Christopher Avenue at the bottom, and Glenmore to the left. The L-shaped building with setbacks starting with at 4 stories, or increasing the volume from 4 stories at the north up to 11 stories at the Glenmore Avenue wing. And you can see was noted as a green roof, a 2-story structure adjacent to the buildings along Mother Gaston. Next slide, please. This is the ground floor plan that shows the significant commercial spaces in red along Glenmore Avenue and Mother Gaston, and also in blue is the lobby for the entrepreneurial hub that we refer to as the Beeville Hub, which gives access to the community facility spaces on the 2nd floor, which we'll see in a minute. That lobby is designed to take advantage of the views to the north to the garden. In yellow is the residential lobby that also opens out onto or has views to the garden. And you can see the community room on the corner of the project, and the residential building apartments beginning in the north wing, and finally an entrance to the commercial parking space at the cellar level. Next slide, please. Here's the 2nd floor plan, where you can see in blue the community facility uses, and the double height lobby that near the elevator core that provides a view to the garden and provides a welcoming gathering space for the community facility functions, as well as the commercial uses below, creating a vibrant entrepreneurial incubator. Next slide, please.
Time up.
Yes, thank you. At this point, we'll turn to questions from the commission. Commissioner Dweck.
The bedroom mix and the Borough President Adams recommendation.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
In the recommendations from Borough President Adams, there's a request on the bedroom mix being 2-3 bedrooms. Can you speak to that?
Erica, do you want to talk about the family size units in the project?
So we have approximately 50% of the units are dedicated to families, where we have designated 2 and 3 bedrooms to accommodate large families. I'm not sure what the question was or what the comment was from the Borough President's office as related to that.
If we could perhaps ask the applicant team to look at the Borough President's recommendations and then submit a response in writing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not aware that there was a comment made in reference to the unit sizes.
Thank you. Other questions?
I had one.
Vice Chair Knuckles.
The Community Board 16, among its recommendations for its disapproval, it cites, it says no residential parking, but I did recall seeing there is a parking component to the project, is there not? So is it a commercial or could you clarify that?
So the parking is currently 59 spaces attended, and it is designated for commercial and community facility parking. The project is an ELA program, and due to the city ordinances that were passed a few years back, there's a parking waiver for the entire building residentially because of the level of AMIs that are offered as it is in a transit zone. So the parking that has been allocated is to support the commercial and community facility businesses along Mother Gaston and Glenmore Manor.
Okay. I don't know if you know the answer to this, but also in their consideration, they cite the number of units. Do you know what they're referencing there? Too few units, too many units?
So I think the concern was about the density of the project. And I think that the response to that from both HPD and the development team was that the responses that were required and generated were based on what the studies are showing the need are for housing in Community Board 16.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank the applicant team, and again, Edwin, ask if anyone else has signed up.
No, Chair Lago. No
Thank you.
signed up.
Then, seeing people in the room, I'll ask if there's anyone present who has not signed up but would like to be present. Now would be the time to come forward. The public hearing on this matter is closed.
Borough of Brooklyn, calendar numbers 65 and 66, CD1, calendar number 65, C200314ZMK, calendar number 66, N200315ZRK. A public hearing in the matter of application for zoning map and zoning text amendment concerning 824 Metropolitan Avenue.
Our first speaker? Oh, yes.
Madam Chair, I'm recused in this matter.
Oh, thank you. Commissioner Ramprashad is recused. Our first speaker will be Lisa Arantia.
Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Orantia, Land Use Counsel from Ackerman LLP on behalf of the applicant 824 Metropolitan Avenue owner. The proposed actions will facilitate a new 8-story mixed-use building with permanently affordable housing. Next slide, please. The project area is at an intersection of Metropolitan, Bushwick, and Orient Avenues near subway and bus service. The development site has a small residential building and a truck parking lot. Next, please. The surrounding area is mostly residential and mixed commercial and residential with recently converted former semi-industrial uses. Next, please. The proposed actions would establish continuous district designations by extending an R7A district that exists to the west and south, including over a portion of the corner lot, and an overlay that exists to the east. Provide for a moderate increase in density on a wide street intersection and in proximity to public transportation. Allow building heights consistent with several 7- and 8-story buildings within 2 blocks of the site, and create opportunities for new mixed uses and affordable housing where a substantial amount of recent as-of-right residential development has not included affordable units. Next, please. The proposed development is a new 8-story mixed-use building with MIH units. Next, please. Community Board 1 and the Borough President's Office recommend approval with conditions. The Borough President finds the actions consistent with sound policy and land use objectives, but is concerned about potential redevelopment of the gas station lot, which is not applicant-owned. The gas station lot is not expected to be redeveloped. It's been operating since 1980. Infrastructure was upgraded in 1995. A competing gas station across the street stopped operating in 2018, and the gas station use can lawfully continue under the rezoning. Although there is no plan to redevelop the corner lot, the existing zoning would allow new heavy commercial uses that are not appropriate for the area, whereas the proposed actions would support sustainable development, including commercial uses suited to the character of the neighborhood. The proposed rezoning and its boundaries are rational and advanced planning goals of adding density at transit-oriented site and supporting the productive use of underutilized land that addresses the need for affordable housing. That concludes the presentation. Thank you.
Questions from the commission? Commissioner Dweck.
You mentioned recommendations. Can you speak to the bedroom mix and other recommendations that there were?
Sure. As to bedroom mix, I'll note that after receiving feedback from the community board, we increased, we added 3-bedroom units. There was initially more studio in 1 bedroom, and that did reduce the number of units from 36 to 34. In addition, we deepened the affordability at the request of the community board, going from option 2 to option 1. As to the bedroom mix, we had planned to do a proportional mix with the market rate housing. We did receive this comment from the borough president on Monday, so we need additional time to evaluate.
Other questions? Thank you. And Ryan, has anyone else signed up?
There are no other further speakers on this item.
Okay, and then seeing people in the room, if any would like to be heard on this matter, now would be the time. Seeing none, the public hearing on this matter is closed.
Thank you.
Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 67 through 70. CD2, calendar number 67, C210278ZMK. Calendar number 68, N210279ZRK. Calendar number 69, C210280ZSK. Calendar number 70, C210281ZSK. A public hearing in the matter of applications for zoning map, zoning text amendments, and special permits concerning 130 St. Felix Street.
And I will note that on this item, we have over 30 speakers, and for those who might not have been present at the beginning, a testimony is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. We will start with a team presentation, a 10-minute team presentation by a team comprised of Melanie Myers, Stephanie Rhodes, Brian Kelly, Dan Kaplan, and Donna Banks.
Thank you very much. My name is Melanie Myers, representing the applicant before you, 130 St. Felix Street, LLC. Next slide, please. This is an application for a series of land use approvals to facilitate a 23-story, approximately 147,000 square foot mixed commercial community facility and residential project. When it's complete, it will provide a unique home ownership opportunity for low and moderate income households. It will provide 20,000 square feet of expansion space for the Brooklyn Music School, a local not-for-profit, and it will address the long-standing gap in the urban and historic fabric of the Banff Historic District. We'd like to use our time to do 3 things. We would like to discuss how the project fits within the context, discuss the affordable program that will be introduced by this project, and then we'll touch on the zoning actions being proposed, including the proposed zoning map amendment. I'll turn it over to Dan Kaplan.
Good afternoon, Chair Lago and Commissioners. Dan Kaplan, Senior Partner, FX Collaborative Architects. Next 2 slides, please. The sites shown in red between downtown Brooklyn, the BAM Historical District, right next to One Hanson Place and the former Williamsburg Savings Bank Tower, and along St. Felix Street with its collection of community, cultural facilities and brownstones really informed our design. Next slide. 3 key principles drove our design thinking. Number 1, create a transition from downtown Brooklyn and the Flatbush corridor to the BAM and Fort Greene historic districts. Number 2, respect One Hanson Place by keeping the height of the building significantly below the shoulder of the building so that the tower rise free. Second, tapering the building up. And third, pushing the building against the lot line. And finally, the third point is relate the building in scale to St. Felix Street. It is worth noting that the design you're going to see received approval from the Landmarks Preservation Commission as being appropriate. Next slide, please. Here you can see the rendering of the building in situ, rising from bottom to top. The significant setbacks from St. Felix Street, 40 feet in 2 steps, the building rising up, tapering below the shoulder of the Williamsburg Savings Bank Tower, and of course, making the transition to the taller buildings along the Flatbush Avenue corridor. Next slide, please. Now we'll take a tour through the site, around the site and looking at the building. This is Flatbush Avenue looking north. You can see One Hanson Place and our tower to the right stepping up. Next slide, please, which is 4th Avenue looking northeast, and you can see a little sliver of the building appearing at the left side. Next slide, please, which is Ashland Place looking south. You can see how the new building meets the existing lot line building of One Hanson Place. The mechanical piece that you see at the top of our new building is actually on One Hanson Place, and then the tower beyond is set back 50 feet, the existing building. Next. This is a view from Hanson and Fort Greene, showing how the building steps up and makes the transition. Next slide, please. This is St. Felix Street and shows how the new building, the street walls respect the scale of the Brooklyn Music School and the brownstones across the street. It's set back 40 feet in 2 20-foot steps so that the One Hanson Tower is exposed and the north facade of the church is exposed, and the tower itself is pushed way off from the scale. Next. This is the Ashland side, how it nestles in between One Hanson Place and Bam Fisher. Next slide, please. One thing that came up in review session that we'd like to touch on is that the north face of the tower was always considered a lot line condition. It's less ornamented, it's plainer, and also those 3 lines of windows that you see there are egress stairs, fire tower courts, and egress corridors. Next slide, please. What you see here is a section on the left with the Brooklyn Music School, 20,000 square feet shown in purple on 3 floors. The residential tower sits above it, rising up to 23 floors. On the right-hand side is a plan. The gray on the left on Ashland are the loading docks and service areas for One Hanson Place. On St. Felix in yellow, on the right-hand side is the residential entrance and the Brooklyn Music School expansion adjacent to and eventual connecting with the existing Brooklyn Music School. Next slide, please. That is the Brooklyn Music School at the base will be 20,000 square feet, and this expansion will allow it to expand the quality and quantity of its offerings and programming, and allow this really beloved institution to thrive in its current location that it's been for over 100 years. You'll hear more about this in testimony from Shelby Green and other leaders of Brooklyn Music School. Next, I'll turn it over to Stephanie Rhodes from the Gotham organization. We'll talk about the affordability of the units. Stephanie?
Thank you. Next slide. And following. As we all know, access to affordable housing is of paramount importance citywide. In Brooklyn Community District 2, where the site is located, the issue is pronounced. The Community Board consistently lists affordable housing as one of the top 3 issues facing the district in their annual statement of needs. In particular, residents can't afford to own homes in this district and are increasingly being displaced as a result. Next slide. Our proposal focuses on home ownership. We propose to set aside 30% of the units for income-targeted home ownership through the MIH workforce housing option. Next slide. Our proposal caters to the working middle class, families with income levels from 70% of area median income, which is below the lowest area median income of 80%, which is allowable in HPD's homeownership program term sheet, and up to 100% of area median income. The overall average AMI is 93%, Again, this is below the maximum allowable average AMI for MIH workforce housing option. This will provide an opportunity for residents of the community to afford to put down roots and bridges a major gap in economic opportunity and addresses racial disparity in access to affordable homeownership. Next slide. Homeownership allows for tax benefits and wealth building that rental does not, and yet rental remains the most accessible affordable housing option available, especially in this neighborhood. This represents an unprecedented opportunity for families to build social and financial equity for the future. Next slide. I'll hand it back to Melody Myers.
And just wanted to touch for just a couple of minutes on the actions themselves. Next slide, please. One of the comments that was raised by the community board's resolution was the appropriateness of the zoning that was being proposed. And we believe that it is appropriate for really two reasons. First, the project is located the project site is located in downtown Brooklyn. It's at the confluence of major corridors within downtown Brooklyn, and it's immediately adjacent to the largest mass transit hub in Brooklyn. It's an ideal location for higher density development, and we think that it makes sense in this context. More fundamentally, if you look at the context of the site today, while the current zoning allows for quite tall buildings up to almost 500 feet, the FAR is wildly inconsistent with what actually exists today, including the One Hanson building, which was built to an FAR in excess of 17. So what the rezoning will do will make that building closer into compliance, and because of the continued overbuilt condition, will allow for a building which is, with the remainder of the site at about an 8 FAR, which we do think is consistent with the transitional zoning that the community board was looking for. It will also allow for a building which is quite a bit lower in height than what zoning allows today, in excess of 200 feet lower than what it is allowed today, and will allow for a lower street wall height than is allowed today. So we do think it is the right zoning, and we do think the building is one that works well in the context. Thank you very much.
Questions for the applicant team? Then thank you for your testimony. Our next speaker is going to be Ralph Osorio, followed by Shelby Green.
Good afternoon. My name is Ralph Osorio, and I am a member of 32BJ. I am here on the behalf of 32BJ SEIU and the more than 3,500 32BJ members who live and work in the Community District 2 to express our strong support of this project. The Gotham organization has made a credible commitment to provide prevailing wage jobs to the future building service workers at this site. We estimate that this rezoning will allow for the creation of many new property service jobs. These jobs are typically filled by local members of the community, and because of this commitment, will pay family-sustaining wages, which will help bring working families into the middle class. The Gotham organization partnership with the Brooklyn Music School will also sustain this important institution for years to come. The Gotham organization has a track record of creating good jobs throughout their portfolio and a long-term partnership with 32BJ. As our members serve on the front lines of this pandemic, Gotham has continued to act as a responsible employer and put the needs of their essential workers first. We respectfully urge you to approve this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Osorio? Our next speaker will be Shelby Green, to be followed by Nella Mupier.
Good afternoon. I'm Shelby Green, the chair of the Board of Trustees of the Brooklyn Music School, BMS. This mixed-use, mixed-income project, the future home of the Brooklyn Music School Community Arts Center, serves the public welfare in several important respects. The first has to do with BMS's place in and service to the community. The new building will enable BMS to continue its 112-year storied place as an anchor in the community, a place where the young and old come to share ideas and to be inspired. It will mean doubling the performance and instructional space. It will house a state-of-the-art facility for music recording and provide a space for training kids in music production. It will be accessible to persons of all abilities. It will be a venue for all other arts programs in the community. Our founding principle is that music and arts instruction should be available to all, irrespective of means or background. Our adherence to this principle is revealed in the diverse demographics among students and leadership. More than 60% of students come from communities of color, and most receive some sort of financial aid. Starting with me, more than half of the Board of Trustees and staff are diverse by ethnicity and gender, among other things. BMS offers more than half music and arts instruction across all genres, from African drumming to hip hop to opera. The after school and summer programs keep children engaged outside the classroom. But the existing facility for a 100-year-old row house is cobbled together were not meant or designed for music instruction. They lack both modern infrastructure and energy efficient systems now known to be important for our environmental health. In so many words, the buildings are dying. The second reason for approving this project had to do with access to the Fort Greene community. BMS and the prospective residents of the new building will own their spaces. This ownership will go a long way toward achieving a measure of social equity. Fort Greene continues to suffer from the lingering effects of exclusionary government and private land use practices over time, from the disinvestment by redlining against once thriving enclaves of Black craftsmen to being the target of the plans of Robert Moses at Community Revitalization Code for removing the poor and ethnic minorities. Fort Greene now experiences the challenge of rising housing practices that may raise continuing or concerning new demographic issues. As an example, in the last decade, the median home price in Fort Greene rose by over 100%. Keeping music and arts instruction available and affordable is a key tool for keeping the community open and inclusive. This well-planned and thoughtfully designed project will act as a bulwark against the loss of diversity in the community and in the housing markets. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Green? Thank you for testifying. Our next speaker will be Nella Mupier, to be followed by Regina Meyer.
Good afternoon. My name is Nella Mupier, and I am testifying on behalf of Chiwoniso Caetano, who is the Executive Director of Girl Be Heard. Dear City Planning Commissioners, my name is Chiwoniso Caetano, and I am testifying in support of the 130 St. Felix Street project led by the Brooklyn Music School and their partners at the Gotham organization. I am the Executive Director of Girl Be Heard, a Brooklyn-based nonprofit organization that works with youth to open a dialogue about social justice issues affecting their communities. We run both after-school and weekend education programs in underserved areas of New York City, where all of our girls' theatrical work is generated. Building self-esteem, growing individual talents, step, dancing, singing, rapping, acting, and empowering girls to become leaders in and advocates for their communities is Girl Be Heard's unique model and why Girl Be Heard has been so successful. The Brooklyn Music School has brought the joy of music and performing arts to our community for 110 years, and its commitment to offering classes at reduced or no cost has not gone unnoticed. By focusing on low-income families, immigrants, and lesser-heard artistic voices, BMS ensures a diverse group of students from all backgrounds can enroll in its classes. The Brooklyn Music School should be given the opportunity to expand the reach of its services. Additionally, with 30% of the residences set aside for affordable homeownership opportunities, this project will create opportunities for essential members of our community, teachers, municipal workers, healthcare providers, etc., to live in the community where they work and serve. It is for these reasons that I support the 130 St. Felix Street project. Thank you for allowing me to speak today, again, on behalf of Chiwoniso Caetano, Executive Director of Girl Be Heard.
Thank you, Ms. Mupier. Our next speaker will be Regina Meyer, to be followed by Lori Raphael.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Regina Meyer, President of the Downtown Brooklyn Partnership. It's a pleasure to speak today on behalf of the Downtown Brooklyn Business Improvement Districts, which we represent. I'd like to express our strong support for the Brooklyn Music School and Gotham Organization's 130 St. Felix Street project. With a design that is sensitive to the heritage of the Williamsburg Savings Bank building, the proposed project at 130 St. Felix Street will transform the vacant mid-block lot into a new mixed-use cultural center that integrates expanded modern facilities for the Brooklyn Music School alongside market rate and affordable homes at the heart of the Brooklyn Cultural District and one of the most transit-rich locations in New York City. The proposed building has been respectfully designed in context with the Art Deco influence of its neighbor. The overall building height is lower than the shoulder of the bank tower, thus preserving the historic building stature while transitioning to the lower scale buildings along St. Felix Street and further to the BAM Opera House, and features intentional setbacks that minimize its presence on St. Felix. This project will enable the Brooklyn Music School, a 110-year-old community institution, to better serve children, adults, and seniors with the 20,000 square foot addition of space. The not-for-profit provides free or discounted music and performing arts instruction to over 80% of its students. And it's vital that we create the opportunity for BMS to expand within the Brooklyn Cultural District, maintaining and increasing access to arts programming for all Brooklyn residents. In addition, the project will create up to 120 units of housing with about 36 permanently affordable home ownership units for low and moderate families earning between 70 to 100% of AMI. The global pandemic and its impact on our local economy has only exacerbated the affordability crisis in our city, and it's critical that we locate affordable housing in transit-rich locations where residents can access jobs and resources across the city and region. This is a very rare opportunity for residents to own a home and build equity in the downtown Brooklyn Historic District, and nowhere is affordable home ownership more appropriate than across the street from Atlantic Terminal Station. We enthusiastically support 130 St. Felix plan to create an expanded state-of-the-art home for a treasured local institution and new affordable housing, and urge you to vote yes on this project.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Meyer? Our next speaker will be Lori Raphael, to be followed by Dorothy Ryan.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Lori Raphael. I'm Senior Vice President of the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to express our support for the 130 St. Felix project by Gotham and Brooklyn Music School. This project will bring accessible arts to the area in the form of mixed-use cultural center in Brooklyn's heart by providing affordable home ownership opportunities and reinvigorating the Brooklyn Music School. 130 St. Felix helps ensure the downtown Brooklyn Cultural District remains a diverse and vibrant community for future generations. The Brooklyn Music School has been serving the residents of this borough for over 100 years. It is more critical than ever right now to give nonprofits opportunities to survive, grow, and continue to serve the residents of this borough. For the Brooklyn Music School, this project will more than double instructional space, create a fully accessible facility, add new dance and rehearsal space and a digital music lab, enable eventual upgrade and renovation of their existing facility while maintaining services to the community. 130 St. Felix is the definition of transit-oriented, accessible development. Welcome addition. Is time up or?
No, please continue.
Welcome addition to the downtown Brooklyn Fort Greene neighborhood. Now more than ever, as we recover from the impact of COVID-19, we need investment like this that will contribute to the vibrancy of our neighborhoods and keep our nonprofits healthy and whole. This project has the full support of the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Raphael. Questions? Our next speaker will be Dorothy Ryan, to be followed by Austin Celestine.
Good afternoon, members of the Planning Commission. I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak in support of this project. I'm the Managing Director of Theater for a New Audience, a colleague and neighbor of the Brooklyn Music School and this development project. The theater is delighted to see BHS, a treasure community resource, have the opportunity to reach its full potential of service to the community through this project. We opened Polanski Shakespeare Center in the Brooklyn Cultural District and Fort Greene community in 2013. Our experience in having a home within the community has been transformational, allowing us to significantly expand our service. BMS currently serves more than 8,000 students, with the majority receiving instruction at no or reduced cost. This community benefit should not be overlooked. Over the years of planning and operating for our facility, we've gotten to know BMS and its leadership well. They provide outstanding instruction and resources to families in the area, and I am confident that they'll make the most of this opportunity to expand their facility. A larger modernized facility will allow them to expand programming across our community. It is impossible to overstate how important arts and educational institutions will be for the vibrancy of New York City and the education of its children as it recovers from the COVID pandemic. Additionally, the unique affordable home ownership component and commitment to set aside 30% of units as permanently affordable will provide residents the opportunity for long-term housing stability in the neighborhood where they already live and support the small businesses and arts and cultural institutions that will be essential to the city's recovery. I have followed the design revisions on the project with interest, and they have incorporated feedback from stakeholders to create an attractive building that, in my own opinion, combines more harmoniously with its surroundings than many of the residential towers now being added to the Brooklyn skyline. Theater for a New Audience supports this plan in order to aid our city and community's recovery, creating state-of-the-art home for treasured local institution along with new affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan. Questions? Our next speaker will be Austin Celestine, followed by William Meehan.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Austin Celestine, and I am an urban design student from NYU. I'm sure we all saw the results from the census from last week, about 630,000 new residents in the past 10 years, something that we should most certainly be celebrating. And in that same time frame, we only built less than 200,000 units of housing. If we were to match the housing production of the population gain in the last decade, we would have to go back more than 40 years to match it. And we ask ourselves why housing is so expensive and why our vacancy rates hover around 3%. 130 St. Felix Street is located in a neighborhood whose median income is well into the six-figure range, bursting at the seams with transportation access, parks, and good schools. Sure, every neighborhood should have more housing, but with the amount of opportunities and resources in the adjacent area, a project of this type is not only perfect, it's imperative, on top of the educational incentives that the project provides. Sure, it's a relatively small project with only 36 affordable units, but considering the housing crisis we have, every little bit counts, and I would argue the scale of the building is quite modest and the perfect complement of the Williamsburg Savings Bank. I don't usually concede to contextual arguments, but the setbacks, the short stature of the portion adjacent to St. Felix Street, and the crown coming just short of the lower shoulder of 1 Hanson is probably the best contextual application that I've seen thus far. The one point of contention that should be addressed, however, is the parking minimums. Obviously, this is a significantly larger problem that extends beyond this small project, but the requirement for the addition of 17 parking spaces is gratuitous. It only increases the price of the project, making it harder to build affordable housing. On top of that, it takes up money and space that could be put into more units in an area merely a stone's throw away from 11 subway lines, the Long Island Railroad, plenty of city bike racks, and more buses that I would care to count. I believe that it's imperative that we take out the parking minimums for this project, but other than that, this project should be approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Celestine. Questions? Our next speaker will be William Meehan, to be followed by Tracy Wilkins Dickerson.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, please begin.
Great. Hi, my name is William Meehan. I'm a local resident. I live nearby this proposed project in Prospect Heights, and I'm calling to support the proposed development. I think that in our twin crises of our housing crisis and our climate crisis, it's important that we be building as much housing near transit as possible, so that people will take sustainable modes of development and live in our low carbon areas like New York, as opposed to higher carbon areas like the suburbs or the Sun Belt. I am particularly impressed by this development, both in terms of its respect for the Williamsburg Savings Bank and also in their request to waive all parking requirements. I think parking minimums are a ridiculous and regressive policy. to begin with. And so I'm very glad that this developer will not be building parking. Replacing parking with housing is exactly what we should be doing all across the city. I also appreciate the fact that the developer has included the affordable homes in this project. I very much look forward to the diversity of our area increasing as Fort Greene and the neighborhoods around it have been more and more segregated and unaffordable to people of color and lower income workers over the past several decades. Thank you, and please approve the project.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Meehan? Thank you. Tracy Wilkins Dickerson, to be followed by John Flores.
Dear City Planning Commissioners, I write to you to share my support for the renovation and expansion of Brooklyn Music School, enabled by the proposed project at 130 St. Felix Street. As a leader of the Diamonds cheerleading team at PS 307 and nearby Vinegar Hill, I know firsthand the transformative power of extracurricular youth activities like these provided by the Brooklyn Music School in bringing creativity, camaraderie, and confidence as young people. I also know the quality of youth facilities that can determine the success of the enriching activities that happens there. Just as the Diamonds cheer team, we also need the proper athletic facilities to practice and compete at our best. Building musicians enrolled at the Brooklyn Music School must have access to modern day classrooms, studios, and performance space. In a moment of immense, I'm sorry, I'm out of the country and I didn't want to miss this. So you may hear the waves in the background. Disruption to children's lives caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Now is the time to reinvest our community, arts organizations, and ensure that these institutions do not miss out on the opportunities to enrich students' lives. I will always be a cheerleader for the institutions like Brooklyn Music School, for giving our city's youth a stage to express themselves and expand their minds. And if we learned anything in this pandemic, is that we New Yorkers rely on each other to get by. I have no doubt that the Brooklyn Music School partnership with the Gotham organization to receive necessary improvements and expand space at 130 St. Felix will take our community and our children far. Have a great day.
Thank you. Questions? Thank you very much. John Flores, to be followed by Darrell Burgess.
Okay, thank you everyone, and good afternoon. My name is John Flores. I'm a parent of 2 children who attend the Brooklyn Music School, and I'm an active board member of the Brooklyn Music School and support this project. I've watched my children flourish with the help of this critical institution, which has fortified our community by providing enriching programming for a broad spectrum of the Brooklyn community. I think we can all agree that music instruction requires a vast amount of space and space that is in good repair. I believe everyone should agree that I believe everyone would agree that the Brooklyn Music School is currently lacking in this regard. This initiative that's currently under consideration is a unique opportunity in the school's history to lift up and grow the institution for future generations. This has been such a challenging year for all of us, and we need to empower and inspire our children as never before. I know that I and my fellow parents can't wait to sit together once again in a renewed performance hall, shoulder to shoulder, to witness our children reach new creative heights. I hope the City Planning Commission will join BMS in reaching this aim. Thank you for your time and wish you all a good afternoon.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Flores? Thank you. Darrell Burgess, be followed by Brian Adamczyk.
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to speak today in support of 130 St. Felix Street project. My name is Darrell Burgess, and I am the president of the Ingersoll Housing Tenant Association. I am here to express my support of this project because it will provide our neighborhood unique opportunities for equity in housing as well as in education. From a housing standpoint, 130 St. Felix Street is slated to create approximately 36 condo units that will be set aside for moderate income earning households. This is a unique opportunity that has rarely been seen in our city, let alone our neighborhood, where the cost of home ownership renders this an inaccessible feat to many in the NYCHA community and beyond, thus preventing these families from participating in a key component of building generational wealth. From an educational standpoint, the Brooklyn Music School has more than demonstrated its commitment to advancing equity in the neighborhood. In fact, Brooklyn Music School offers free or discounted instruction to over 80% of its students. The longtime Brooklyn institution's effort to create a diverse and inclusive environment with students and faculty from all different backgrounds is not unnoticed and should be a framework for educational institutions across the city. Today, the Brooklyn Music School faces space constraints. When the 130 St. Felix Street project is approved, the organization will be able to more than double its instructional space, all in an expand facility that they will own outright. This will allow the school to greatly expand the number of students it serves. I ask that the city planning commissioners hear my voice and the voice of many who reside in city's public housing who are asking for an opportunity to build generational wealth in the neighborhood that we love. Thank you for hearing my testimony in support of the 130 St. Felix Street project today. Darrell Burgess, President of the Ingersoll Tenant Association.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Questions? Then our next speaker will be Brian Adamczyk, to be followed by Patrick Hart.
Thank you all very much for allowing me to voice my thoughts, which are in support of the 130 St. Felix Street project. My name is Brian Adamczyk, and I'm the Interim Executive Director at the Brooklyn Music School. Prior to stepping into this role, I served as the Director of Programming and Productions at BMS. Between these various roles, which have involved a heavy emphasis on implementing the music and dance programming that BMS offers, as well as overseeing the entire building usage of the theater, I believe I have an intimate understanding of our current resource and facility statuses. As you may know, the Brooklyn Music School is a 112-year-old organization with the core mission of providing access to music and dance programming for anyone who wishes to receive it, and we're so proud of this. Programming, ensembles, group classes, music therapy, early childhood, and performance opportunities are offered to a diverse, wide-ranging population of individuals from early infants all the way to senior citizens. BMS is truly a historic and cultural hub in the community. It is a place where everyone is welcome to celebrate, bond, and gather through the act of performing arts. Over the long history of the Brooklyn Music School, this programming, staff, and faculty have all functioned under one roof, being 126 St. Felix Street. Our current building is charming and unique, yet tired and full of dated materials that need to be replaced. If BMS is to grow, reach more people, and continue to serve its mission of creating widespread access, the idea of having not only more space, but a new cutting-edge facility is incredibly exciting to us. From a programmatic standpoint, it would foster all existing programming and create a larger scale at which our various offerings could be housed and executed. Another facet this potential expansion could improve is curriculum in areas such as music production, digital composition, mixing, and recording. All of these would need proper equipment, space, and gear to truly thrive. The additional BMS space within 130 St. Felix could certainly provide this. Lastly, while there are in fact many iterations of how the additional space may be allocated, one incredibly exciting feature to be noted might be the possibility of a black box theater. This would not only serve the students and faculty from BMS, but it could also pose as a venue for local artists to come and perform, conduct residencies, or provide recording capabilities for new and original art. In closing, I just want to reiterate that the Brooklyn Music School has been serving this community in New York City for over 100 years. To have the ability to expand, reach more, and upgrade on so many fronts is absolutely an incredible moment in our organization's history. Thank you, Council, for hearing my remarks in support of 130 St. Felix.
Thank you, Mr. Adamczyk. Questions? Our next speaker will be Patrick Hart, to be followed by Adef Talezi.
Patrick Hart is not here at this time.
Okay, then we will move on to Adef Talezi, to be followed by Frank Cavalli.
Just to be sure, is it me, Alef Tadessa?
Welcome. Sorry about the mispronunciation.
Okay. It's okay. It's different. So, well, good afternoon. My name is Ala Fidessa, and I am testifying on behalf of Riseboro Community Partnership, a nonprofit community-based organization with strong roots in Brooklyn as a provider of community service and several thousand units of affordable housing. And we are in support of this project. 130 St. Felix Street project represents a rare opportunity for the working middle class to build equity through affordable homeownership without any government subsidy. We can attest to how challenging it is to build more income-targeted homeownership in New York City. Our organization has been working very closely with HPD on a homeownership project for several years, and it is very hard to make the numbers work with subsidy. Riseboro Community Partnership applauds the development team for making it work here without subsidy and meeting targeted incomes below those financed by current city term sheets, which target households starting at 80% of AMI. And I would like to thank you guys for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the project. Thanks.
And thank you for testifying. Questions? Then our next speaker will be Frank Cavalli, to be followed by Beth Allen.
I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak in support of the 130 St. Felix project. My name is Frank Cobalt, and I've been finance manager for the Brooklyn Music School for over a year. We're very excited about housing the BMS in the building as an efficient alternative to our current turn-of-the-century structure. The current building has served us well for many years, but now shows its age. Among the many distractions are aging boilers, leaks in the walls and ceilings, antiquated electrical wiring, and failed plumbing. The building is comprised of 3 joint brownstones, which makes it difficult to attempt at efficient climate control throughout the structure. Housed in the new facility, we estimate that our future maintenance costs and utility costs will decline significantly, which for a not-for-profit is a very important consideration. We are fortunate to have the new structure at the same location, as this gives students access to a number of public transit options. Within less than a block from the building is the Atlantic Terminal, with stops for a significant number of train lines, as mentioned before, the biggest hub in Brooklyn. The building will be home for the community for our private music instruction, group lessons, music therapy, dance, mentor program, and ensembles. The new structure will provide space for expansion in other future programs. The proposed new building will be an attractive environment for the community, future students, and parents. I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak about this project, and I strongly support it.
Thank you, Mr. Cavalt. Questions? Our next speaker will be Beth Allen, to be followed by Blair Green.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to provide testimony in support of the mixed-use, mixed-income development at 130 St. Felix Street that will house the expansion of the Brooklyn Music School. My name is Beth Allen, and I am the Executive Director of the Downtown Brooklyn Arts Alliance, or DBAA. We are a network of 60 nonprofit cultural organizations in downtown Brooklyn. Our members include every presenting arts venue situated in the Brooklyn Cultural District, as well as small galleries and other arts venues, dance and theater companies, and many others. We offer programming designed to strengthen arts organization, foster collaboration, and collectively address issues in our sector and in our communities that affect our work. Brooklyn Music School is a longstanding member of DBAA and a very treasured asset in our community. As the leader of the Downtown Brooklyn Arts Alliance, one of the things that I think about constantly is how our existing arts organizations will be able to continue to serve the growing residential population of downtown Brooklyn. Brooklyn Music School's explosive growth the past few years is a testament to the demand for arts education in our neighborhood. And while the growth numbers alone are impressive, the fact that 80% of classes offered are offered at free or reduced cost is especially important to their impact. The breadth of their offerings, spanning dozens of musical and cultural traditions, is especially loved. And student performances for community audiences at the Downtown Brooklyn Arts Festival and events in Foley Square and other places in the neighborhood contribute greatly to the character and identity of Fort Greene. Anyone who has visited Brooklyn Music School knows that it is bursting at the seams. Space to expand as well as for an upgraded facility is urgently needed. One of the primary things that defines Fort Greene as a cultural neighborhood and defines it not only as the Brooklyn Cultural District, but as a vibrant culture is the widespread availability of high quality arts education, and in particular programs that are affordable to all, serve diverse students, and offer exposure to a wide range of artistic forms. As the neighborhood grows and changes, this project will expand the reach and impact of Brooklyn Music School's programming and allow an organization that has been contributing to the vibrancy of the community for over 100 years to continue to thrive. We are delighted to support this project. Thank you for the opportunity again to testify.
Thank you. Thanks for testifying. Questions? Our next speaker will be Blair Green, to be followed by Tina Fleming.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Blair Green, and I'm a student here at the Brooklyn Music School. I also teach. As a student, I started coming to Brooklyn Music School over 15 years ago when I knew nothing about music, and I really wanted to become a professional classical pianist. And I've had a very great teacher who was very helpful and supportive of me, as well as the community here that helped me grow as a musician. And 15 years later, I'm performing in gigs around New York City, in Brooklyn, the East Village, all around New York City. And I've even, through the Brooklyn Music School, had a chance to explore different countries like Belgium and France through foreign exchange programs. And I've grown so many connections, and through the Brooklyn Music School now, I've had the opportunity to just meet people all over the world and just really establish myself in music. And because of that, I'm so grateful for the Brooklyn Music School for providing me with this. And I want to see the school grow, and I want to see it expand, so the place where I learn music can reach new people, have more space for different things that they need. And even, just expanding its reach throughout New York City with the help of, this project. So thank you again for having me. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing the perspective of the student. Questions?
Okay.
Our next speaker will be William Thomas, to be followed by Bob Gretto. Oh, I'm sorry. Our next speaker is Tina Fleming, to be followed by William Thomas. I jumped the gun.
Yes, good afternoon, commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good afternoon. Okay, so my name is Tina Fleming. I'm a lifelong resident and longtime activist in this community. I'm speaking today in support of the Brooklyn Music School 130 St. Felix Street project for the following reasons. For years, while volunteering with my local PTA, I've worked to ensure that public school students had access to STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math programs from an elementary school age. Exposing young students to specialty programming that falls outside of the standard curriculum is so essential because it allows students to prepare to apply for specialty public middle and high schools. All too often, we see students from higher income families are exposed through their schools and extracurricular activities to engage in STEAM opportunities, while students from lower income families are not afforded the same opportunities. So as a result, students from lower income families are often unprepared to compete for spots in specialty middle and high schools. It is in this context that the Brooklyn Music School focused on using scholarships to provide accessible music education to students from all economic backgrounds is so essential. The Brooklyn Music School diverse student body must be given access to sufficient space and facilities, which will be created by the 130 St. Felix Street project. This is why I urge you to approve this project so that an achievable path for early arts education can be created for students' bodies that is truly representative of this community. I thank you and appreciate you for hearing my testimony today.
Thank you, Ms. Fleming. Questions? Now our speaker is William Thomas, to be followed by Bob Gretto.
Hello, everyone. My name is William Thomas. I'm here to support the project as the Executive Director of Open New York. We're an independent grassroots pro-housing organization. We support 130 St. Felix Street because allowing more homes here would both help to alleviate New York's housing shortage, help to fight displacement, and help to address our climate crisis. To start, New York has a terrible housing shortage. Between 2010 and 2017, median rents increased by more than double median wages. Homelessness is at the highest level since the Great Depression. And pre-COVID, 1 out of every 10 elementary school students in New York City public schools attended from homeless shelters. So in this environment, we need every bit of affordable housing we can muster, and the 36 below-market homes in 130 St. Felix is a great place to start. In addition, adding market-rate homes here, right on the edge of downtown Brooklyn and Fort Greene, will also help by proactively preventing displacement elsewhere. This is a very desirable transit-rich area, and although it would likely be many families' first choice, if they can't find a place to live here, they will simply move to a more affordable neighborhood, likely deeper in Brooklyn. If we don't let young professionals live here, they're not going to disappear. They're merely going to continue to gentrify neighbors further in Brooklyn, like Bed-Stuy, Crown Heights, and Brownsville. But every new home here will spare a family that pressure. Furthermore, this project is obviously a win for the climate, as the project is in one of the most transit-rich areas in the country, barely 2 blocks away from Atlantic Terminal. In addition, the developer is seeking a waiver to eliminate parking minimums entirely. I hope the CPC will urge granting this waiver. New Yorkers have 30% of the carbon footprint of the average American, largely because it is possible to live here without a car. The climate crisis demands that we grow in greener ways, and this project is exactly that. I know that a few locals disapprove the project because it may block views from the Williamsburg Savings Bank Tower where they live, but to put it bluntly, we live in a city where there aren't enough homes for the people who want to live here. It has horrifying human consequences, and that's the terrible shadow over the neighborhood and the quality of life issue that we ought to address. So I would specifically ask the CPC to prioritize solutions there over anyone's aesthetic concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Questions? You're off the hook. Our next speaker is Bob Gretto, to be followed by Emery Mayer.
Bob Gretto does not appear to be here at the moment.
Thank you. Then Emery Major, I believe, is the name, to be followed by Alex Carrington.
Hi, my name is Emery Major, and I'm a staff member at Brooklyn Music School. Thanks for having me today. I'm speaking in support of the development of 130 St. Felix Street as it affects Brooklyn Music School's future. In the short period of time I've been involved with BMS, I've seen firsthand how much they do for their community. For over a century, they have stayed true to their original founding principles of offering affordable and accessible performing arts education, instead of following the path that so many educational institutions follow, where their primary focus becomes tainted over time by an elitist attitude and charging higher and higher tuition rates. BMS has fervently held on to their belief that art is for everyone, no matter their background and ability to pay for it. This development at 130 St. Felix Street would give BMS the space they need to serve more of their community, better equipment on which students can learn, and a new lease on life. It would allow BMS to serve their community even better, provide quality creative spaces, which students would typically have to pay Juilliard prices to access, and give BMS a strong foundation to stay true to their mission for the next 100 years. I'm asking you to please approve the development of 130 St. Felix. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Major? Our next speaker will be Alex Carrington, to be followed by Sharav Datta.
Alex Carrington does not appear to be in the room.
Thank you. We'll then go to Sharav Datta, to be followed by Adam Brodheim.
He just appeared in the room.
Oh, who just appeared?
Alex Carrington.
Okay, so we will go with Alex Carrington then.
This is Sharath Datta. I believe I'm scheduled to go next, but I might have been elevated to panelist already. May I continue?
Oh, yes, please do.
All right. Yes, my apologies. Perhaps Alex can go after me. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Sharath Datta. I'm speaking on my own behalf and in support of the 130 St. Felix Street application for a zoning amendment, as well as this request for a parking waiver. I've been a Brooklyn resident of Community Board 2 for the past decade. I'm a public servant myself and have been lucky to live in rent-stabilized mixed-income rental housing, but I've also witnessed firsthand how Brooklyn's housing scarcity has grown even more severe in this time, putting housing ownership out of the reach of the vast majority of Community Board residents. Many friends and peers have had to leave the New York area entirely due to the housing costs associated with a growing family, particularly in this neighborhood, the most opportunity and transit-rich part of Brooklyn. Meanwhile, housing prices in this community have continued to rise unabated, as you've heard from other folks that have offered their testimony. I am disappointed that some local community representatives see no issues with effectively fostering a two-class system here in Brooklyn. Those already fortunate to be homeowners or living in rent-restricted housing, and everyone else that has to fight it out for the limited housing options that remain. We have an opportunity here to change that. I ask the commissioners to please keep a big picture perspective, put the entire city's long-term needs into perspective over the narrow, hyper-local concerns that have been raised to dispute the benefits this proposal will bring. As a long-term resident in this community, I do appreciate that this project is located in a historic district, but the LPC's feedback has led to meaningful compromises in this proposal already. I encourage you to please approve this proposal and grant its request to eliminate parking minimums. This is an odd-shaped, partially empty lot located right next to one of the biggest transit hubs in Brooklyn, and the Brooklyn Music School has long been a cultural pillar in this community and deserves our support. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Datta. Questions? We'll then go back to see if Alex Carrington is in the room, to be followed by Adam Brodheim.
Thank you so much. My name is Alex Carrington. I want to thank the commission for allowing me to speak. And I've been born and raised in the area for some time now, and I've always worked in the area. And the project is a definite benefit for the community. Forgive me for being selfish, but I'm only really interested in the community. So it will help with home development, economic wealth, and it will also provide jobs. So I just wanted to let you know my stand on it. Hopefully it'll help. And I thank you so much.
Thank you. The commission always benefits from testimony, so thank you. Questions? Our next speaker will be Adam Brodheim, to be followed by Dan Miller.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Adam Brodheim, and I live 2 blocks away from the proposed site in Fort Greene. I'm a student studying historic preservation at Columbia University and care deeply about preservation in New York City. I was extremely pleased to see that this project was approved by LPC last year. I walk by this empty lot on the way to the subway every day, and am very in favor of turning it into something. 130 St. Felix is not just contextual, but actually a lovely building that is replacing an ugly, empty lot. This is exactly what preservation in 2021 should be. I am particularly pleased to see that the developers will provide affordable homes for purchase, not just rentals, and that they will give back to our community by expanding Brooklyn Music School. This building takes an empty lot and provides new homes to a city that has a terrible housing shortage. Built next to one of the largest subway stations in Brooklyn, it would allow Brooklynites to travel the city in an environmentally friendly way in the midst of our climate crisis. I urge city planning to approve this application, especially the request to waive the parking requirements. For 80 years, 130 St. Felix's neighbor, the Williamsburg Savings Bank building, was Brooklyn's tallest building and a symbol of Brooklyn. How wonderful it would be to give a smaller neighbor that represents the Brooklyn of 2021, turning a vacant lot into transit-oriented development that provides opportunities for folks of all income levels to live and thrive in the Brooklyn we all love. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brodheim. Questions? Our next speaker will be Dan Miller, to be followed by Michael Schwartz.
Hi, this is Dan Miller. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Dan Miller. I am a Brooklyn resident for the past 5 years, living in Crown Heights. I want to speak in support of this project because the city is in a desperate, dire housing shortage. Other people have already addressed the fantastic benefits to the city's cultural landscape from this project.
I'm afraid we've lost your sound feed.
million people left the city. But at the same time, we added 600,000 residents. We're not building enough housing for the amount of people who want to live in this city. And that shortage manifests itself in ways that are deeply troubling, or should be, to any citizen of the city. It manifests itself in people who can't afford to live on their own, and so they have roommates well past the time that that's normal in American society. It manifests itself in overcrowded housing units, families living in 1 or 2 bedroom apartments rather than having 3 or 4 bedrooms. And it manifests itself in homelessness. The rate of homelessness per capita in New York State is triple that of Florida, because we don't build enough housing. We don't build enough affordable housing, we don't build enough market rate housing, and we don't build enough housing of any type. This project is a small step towards fixing that, and I urge you to approve it. We simply need to put more spaces to hold more people, to make this city the greatest city that it can be, to make it affordable for everyone who wants to live here to be able to live here. We're trying to cram too many people who want to be New Yorkers into too few structures. There is no good argument against building more housing, especially in an already well-off, transit-rich area like downtown Brooklyn. This is exactly the kind of project that we need to be doing more of. Frankly, I'd say that I would urge you not only to approve this project, but to look for opportunities to encourage more projects like this. This is something that the city desperately needs, and we should be allowing it. We should be paving the way for it, not just passively approving it, but actively seeking out ways to make this process easier and better so that we can get more desperately needed housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. You cut out for around 10 seconds, but I think we got the gist of your testimony. Okay. Questions? Our next speaker will be Michael Schwartz, to be followed by Cynthia McKnight.
Mr. Schwartz is not in the Zoom.
Okay, then we'll move on to Cynthia McKnight, to be followed by Brunel Greer.
Hi, I'm a long-term resident. I'm the Brooklyn Borough President for Community Education Council 13. District 13 goal is to be an anti-racist district and decrease the equity issues in our schools. I'm also a union leader with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, an agency that was instrumental in enacting laws and policies that prevented Black people from receiving loans and owning affordable homes, such as those built in Levittown. HUD is the agency that created the manual for redlining, which private lenders later adopted. The condo project at St. Felix will provide an opportunity for families to own a home. And this is why I'm so passionate about getting this project approved. CEC 13 looks forward to working with the nonprofit Impact, who is working with this St. Felix project by notifying our families about this opportunity for families to acquire generational wealth. I was the PTA president of PS 11 and a Dock Street School, where we had the opportunity to partner with the Brooklyn Music School. Our Title I schools cannot afford music programs, and we look forward to the expansion of the Brooklyn Music School, this project, to help our district's 13 schools secure music programs. More than ever, our children and families are still facing the pandemic. We need our art programs to educate and heal. Although real estate prices have gone up, we still have many low and middle income families in District 13, including Bed-Stuy, Clinton Hill, Fort Greene, Prospect Heights, and Vinegar Hills communities. I plead that you approve this project to allow our families to own one of the affordable condos. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. McKnight. Questions? Our next speaker is Brunel Greer, to be followed by Lori Ayers Hutchison.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Brunel Greer, and I'm the Executive Director of Pratt Area Community Council, also known as Impact Brooklyn. We are a community development organization founded in 1964 with roots in Fort Greene and Clinton Hill. Our focus is on affordable housing including income-targeted rentals and home ownership. Full disclosure, personally, I reside in Community Board 2, approximately 3/4 of a mile away from the proposed project. The Fort Greene and Clinton Hill community has undergone significant change in the mix of racial, ethnic, and income diversity. There is an abundance of rental apartment towers along the downtown Brooklyn footprint. These buildings have sprung up as a result of zoning changes whereby commercial areas transition and it was allowed for the creation of residential housing. We at Impact Brooklyn have served as the marketing agent for several of these properties, including the Hub and One Flatbush. The demand for housing for persons with income ranging from 30% to 100% of AMI is demonstrated by the many residents using Houses Connect 2.1 and applying for these properties. Besides serving as inclusionary and marketing agent, Impact Brooklyn's programs include first-time home buyer services, whereby we educate those interested in home ownership to be able to navigate the process. We are members of the New York Mortgage Coalition and the Center for New York City Neighborhoods. We have an active list of clients who desire home ownership, including those from Fort Greene and Clinton Hill. The 130 Felix Street project will afford 36 households the opportunity to own their residence. It is one of the only opportunities amongst the new developments that will be priced at an amount affordable to those earning 70 to 100% of area median income. We have reviewed the plans for the rezoning and the overall development. While we respect the opinions of our friends and collaborators in the Fort Greene Clinton Hill area, for those that are in support, we stand in support of this project. We agree. We also know that several do not agree, and we do agree that we are inundated with towers. We know that gentrification is an ongoing problem, and that while the community receives housing, developers also accrue financial benefits. This has been the nature of the real estate market and the programs designed to serve New Yorkers. Nevertheless, in reviewing the design of 130 St. Felix, it is the writer's opinion that the renderings are a complement to the historical nature of the area and better than many of the other structures that currently exist. In addition, the expanded space for the Brooklyn Music School is a benefit. The project's development plan allows this affordable home ownership and the expansion of the Brooklyn Music School
Ms. Greer, I'm afraid that the time has expired. We would welcome your submitting your testimony.
I did. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Greer? Our next speaker will be Lori Ayers Hutchison, to be followed by Jasmine Hammond.
Good afternoon, commissioners.
Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Lori Ayers Hutchinson. I am a lifelong Brooklyn resident, and I work across several Brooklyn neighborhoods and sit on the board of a number of nonprofit organizations in this beautiful borough. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on my own behalf in support of the 130 St. Felix Street project. This project will add to the community while maintaining some important aspects of the neighborhood. The march of progress does not have to result in the erasure or destruction of the things that matter. This project set aside of 36 units of much needed home ownership opportunities for moderate income earning households makes room for current members of the community to purchase a home here, where many are often priced out. This helps maintain diversity in the beautiful mosaic of Brooklyn and build generational wealth for those who are historically least likely to access such opportunities. I'm personally thrilled that this project also improves the facilities and capacity of an existing community institution, the Brooklyn Music School, allowing them to continue and expand their reach to the music and dance students with affordable quality instruction. The Brooklyn Music School has been providing incredible arts instruction for many of the youth I serve, and I have watched them flourish as a result. I would like to share with you my enthusiastic support for the 130 St. Felix Street project, because I appreciate the thoughtful and inclusive development approach. Thank you, commissioners, for hearing my testimony.
Thank you, Ms. Ayers Hutchison. Questions? Our next speaker will be Jasmine Hammond, to be followed by Sarah Foster.
Jasmine Hammond is not in the Zoom.
So we will go directly to Sarah Foster.
Sarah Foster is also not in Zoom.
Okay, so that is the end of the list that I have. I will just ask if we could check if Patrick Hart, Bob Gretto, or Michael Schwartz have rejoined.
No, they have not.
Okay, then seeing that there are people in the room, if anyone is present who has not yet testified but would like to, please come forward now. The public hearing on this matter is closed, and I would ask if we have any more matters before the commission.
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, then the entire meeting is over, and I think we'll have a lot of hungry people seeking lunch.